What in the hell do you think you're doing?
Hey, John Boy.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
And again, it's picked off. It's Darius Leonard. A pick six for the Maniac. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. Yes, sir.
Oh, the Dickens. Double time.
Miles Turner.
Yeah. John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, let's get going on a Friday. We've got a lot going on, both in and out of the studio today. Actually, we're in the studio. James is out getting multi-tattoos to the tune of $200 per hour from the Vincent van Gogh, evidently, of tattoo artists. That is James out. Nathaniel is the substitution. Nathaniel will be fantastic. We got stuff to give away, including Jeff Foxworthy tickets. That's Laughing Matters, I believe, coming up at the end of June. We have 50 Cent. We have Busta Rhymes in celebration of hip-hop from the early 2000s. We'll give those tickets away coming up at some point in the 5 o'clock hour. That show, by the way, is coming up, I want to say, at the end of July. Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center, and a shout-out to Kyle and to Jimmy and the gang, our friends, always helping us out with the Live Nation shows, making sure we give back to you, keeping you interested in all these shows that are happening in and around the area. Those dudes are fantastic. Love them to death. Thank you guys very much for that. We'll give you a chance to win coming up a little bit later on. Meantime, today is the day, at least day number one. My Sycamores, your Sycamores, in fact, our Sycamores, start the path, hopefully, that can get them to Omaha, Nebraska for the College World Series. That first pitch is around 5 o'clock today from Fort Worth, Texas. They'll take on TCU. The voice on the radio, John Sherman, is going to join us. I believe he's going to call in here in about 8 or so minutes. We'll talk up that matchup and a little bit more, get you a little insight. I'm assuming live from the stadium with John coming up here in just a little bit. All right, also in studio, I mentioned last week, was the debut of our good friend Pat Sullivan of Sullivan Hardware and Garden, hashtag Ask Pat. And this prize was so sought after, was so popular, everybody wanted to get in on it. And if you remember last week, I was at Twin Peaks for the grand opening down in Greenwood. It was outstanding, but that's one thing that we noticed, that the prize, because Pat every week gives away a prize. Me or Nathaniel, as it stood last week, it was James that made the decision on the prize winner. Today, again, it's either me or Nathaniel to do it, but back-to-back weeks for the meat thermometer. Right up our alley. The Meter Plus. This thing has got everything that you need in terms of the internal temperature of your meat. And we're doing that again coming up here at the bottom of the hour. So get your questions in. Hashtag Ask Pat, whatever they're about. Whether it's landscaping, yard work, internal meat temperature, barbecuing, smoking the greatest of meats, whatever. Bugs, moles, pergolas, and why. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden. Hashtag Ask Pat. It is open and ready to go. Pat joins us coming up at 3:30 today. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio was on ESPN Radio nationally last Saturday. We're going to talk some NBA Finals because Game 4 is later on tonight, Nuggets and the Heat. We'll see if what Miami has accomplished so far in this postseason has still a lasting effect coming up here in game number 4, and that's being able to hang, being able to surprise. Because I think most people around the NBA right now believe the Heat to be done. And to show that they truly are not done, the dreaded must win Now, this is a logical must-win. This is not some of my jackassery I normally throw out there. Hey, must-win week 1, the Colts. I am Mr. Must-Win, and I feel good about that. But this one's logical because you can't be screwing around. You got to get this home game and then get back to Denver and then hope at some point you win another one there. In the remainder, or if you're able to prolong the series, the remainder of the series. And things are going to have to look a lot different than they did for Miami the other night. Because let's face it, the 2 stars of Denver did basically what the 2 stars of Denver wanted to do. Any time, any place. Think about that. 30-point triple-doubles for Jokic and Murray. That just has not been the MO for the Heat. I thought the Heat, and again, I'm not suggesting Denver's not talented because sure as hell they are. But you want to see just a little bit more resistance, don't you? You're hoping for a little bit more resistance. I mean, again, you probably don't have a rooting interest. That's cool. I'm glad you don't, because I don't either, especially in terms of Miami. But you want something fun, you want something enjoyable, and they have given you that so far. Now, we shall see if they're able to give you that up and coming. So, again, Mike Wells will talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about the Colts. Of course, Mike has yet to speak regarding Isaiah Rodgers. And that latest, which is there's no latest. You just kind of sit and you wait until they're done with the investigation, and then you find out. And then I'm assuming that immediately the Colts will punt him, and that will be that. I mean, I know you hate to be that hardcore about it. And I know some of you out there have contacted me and said, you wish, you really do, right? Because he's a talented guy, still but in a 1-year deal remaining, you're going to be out. If all this stuff holds true, you're going to be out for a year. So why mess with it? And you don't mess with it. And that, my friends, will be that. At which point, we'll discuss that even further. Mike Wells will join us coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. All right, 5 o'clock hour. I've been really excited about it. I know I'm trying to come off a loss by the Reds yesterday afternoon. They start out a weekend set with the last place St. Louis Cardinals. That is awesome to say, by the way. You know how good that makes me feel? The last place St. Louis Cardinals. There are some other things I would like to add, but I won't. The last place St. Louis Cardinals and the Reds later on tonight from the Reds television network, sometimes the radio network, most of the time the television network. Chris Welsh will join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. And to add to it, I got a former Red Legs pitcher going to be in studio, friend of this show. He is popping today his brand of alcohol. We have talked about that before. Our good friend Drew Storen will be in studio. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little baseball. I'll be talking a little college baseball as well. Remember, Drew had a fantastic career while at Stanford. Drew Storen's in studio. Chris Welsh will be on the line. I'll have Nathaniel figure out how much time we will have coming up at the 6 o'clock hour for a little bit of Anything Goes, because after that, you're going to be set and ready with Matt Taylor and the Gorman. I think the Gorman is back because he tweeted at me today. The last word coming at you at some point in the 6 o'clock hour this evening. And by the way, to NBA Finals Game 4, Nuggets and the Heat can be heard right here. Your coverage begins at 7:30. But let's welcome in right now the pride of Terre Haute, Indiana State University, the baseball squad super regional. First pitch in and around 5 o'clock our time, 4 o'clock local time in Fort Worth, Texas. And John Sherman is the play-by-play man on the radio for our Sycamores, and I mean our Sycamores. He joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What's the feeling like going on there today, John?
Excitement on top of 95-degree heat, but we can't wait. We were excited. Guys were down in the lobby. Bus left at 1, and the guys were in the lobby at noon. They were ready to go, and they're taking BP right now. But excitement is the big word right now, JMV.
Hey, John, back in 1993, I called the game with LSU and Indiana State from Baton Rouge. I called the game from the concourse on a payphone. Are you calling this game from a payphone today?
Not on a payphone, but I am above the center. I am in the crowd, surrounded by TCU fans.
No, you're not. Are you really?
Yes, I am. I am just one step below the home plate camera for this one. So I'm going to roll out I started out at about 2:45. When I get done this, I'll be about 2:05.
Wow. Yeah, but you know what though, all that aside, I thought Mitch handled all of this because there was some controversy certainly involved in this earlier this week, and I was speaking with regards to that here. But Mitch has handled this with his baseball team just the absolute best. I mean, you know what? This is where we're going. This is who we're playing. And it doesn't matter where you're going to play. You're going to have to play well to beat this team, and that's that. That's exactly, John, how you have to handle it.
Exactly, and that's the way it was. The kids walked out of the clubhouse that day. It's all behind us. Let's go play baseball. And that's how this team has approached everything since they got on the charter flight to get down here. We get to go play baseball. The send-off was unbelievable. I've been around here going on 30 years now as a student, as a radio guy, and now as an administrator, and now doing the play-by-play for these guys. They are just excited about being able to play, to represent the university, to represent their families, and to represent our community. And they've done a first-class job in all three categories.
John Sherman's got the play-by-play. You mentioned, too, you've been in and around this thing for 30 years, certainly in administration, doing play-by-play and everything that's necessary. Have you ever been around in your time in Terre Haute a group like this?
The closest in my time was probably 2019. We had a veteran group. We got beaten by Vanderbilt in the regional finals. At Vanderbilt, they went on to win the national title that year. It's about the same type of group. They're very humbled. They just want to play baseball. They're very close-knit, and they care about one another. They don't care who gets the accolades. They just care about winning, and that's all that matters to them. And so if I had to compare in all my time, obviously I was around with that 86 team that went to the College World Series. That was a special group of guys as well. They were very talented. But in my administrative time and time being around these guys every day, I'd have to go back to 2019.
Yeah, it does seem like an incredible group. It seems like to me that coach and group are perfect for one another. And that's rarely a combination that you get. And when you have it, it has to be pretty special.
Yeah, and you know Mitch. And Mitch is a very humble guy, and that has come off, and he's a hard worker. And remember when he played – gritty, tough. You didn't want to face him in a big situation, and they just kind of feed off of him. The coaching staff's been together for a while. They know what each other's thinking. The guys have figured out how to work, and if you could have been around this group in September, October, November when they were going through fall ball, you could see the development, the growth of this team, and then obviously we started off 2-9, and you're like, what the heck is going on? But you knew there was a battle in them. You knew there was going to be a fight. And, I jokingly say I'll take these 40 guys behind the woodshed any day of the week to get something done. And that's what they've proven everybody so far.
John Sherman is the play-by-play man for the Sycamore baseball team, senior assistant athletic director as well over at Indiana State. Kind enough to join us before this game number 1 of this 3-game set, if necessary. We'll see where all this goes. Hopefully a positive angle from the Sycamore standpoint, but John's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So what have you gathered from picking apart, I'm sure, the stats and then some of TCU? The one thing that I've noticed and everybody here has also pointed out is the fact that this team, you're probably as hot as the weather where you guys are playing in Fort Worth today. Offensively, this team is as hot, it seems.
You're exactly right. I think you've got the two hottest teams in baseball going right now in the Super Regional, with TCU having just rolled through the Arkansas Regional, scoring, think about this, in 3 games, 44 runs and hit over 400 during that time. They stole 10 out of 12 bases. They want to put pressure on you. Any way, means how, they're going to put pressure on you. We think having Grant McGill behind the plate, who's thrown out 18 guys this year, is a pretty good matchup for them. And also with Matt Jasek going today, Jasek and McGill have each picked off 5 runners this season. we've picked off as a team 15. So to be able to have that communication between both Jacek and McGill on when to throw over, how they want to pitch those guys, and the camaraderie they have with both Mitch and Justin Hancock, the pitching coach, I think you can slow down their running game. I don't know if you can stop it, but that's one of the biggest things. And today, the big thing is you've got to have a great location in pitches. You can't barrel a few up. They're going to score. They're going to get on base. But if you can limit it and put that third-ranked defense to work and play clean baseball, you've got a shot to win this thing.
John Sherman is the play-by-play voice of the Sycamores. Again, their first pitch is around 5 o'clock Eastern time. Again, 4 o'clock Central, where John is in Fort Worth, Texas. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Listen, I know how Mitch handled it. I know how the players have handled it. But is that a concern of yours at all, the home field presence of what is going to be a very hot and sweaty and pro TCU type of crowd?
Not at all. We've been to places like this. As Mitch said earlier this week, at some point in time you're going to have to go on the road and win. So we're on the road. We haven't even talked about it. Let's just go play baseball and let's go win this thing. And that's how this 40-man group is approaching today.
What's impressed you the most? We've talked about this team when they were off to, I think, a 2-8 start. We talked about this team when they were even at 11-11, and then obviously the final 2.5 months of this season up until this point has been spectacular. What was the significant change, and what may have been the biggest deal between what it was at the beginning and certainly what it is right now in preparation for TCU?
I think it came down to that 3-game series at Kentucky. We got beat 3 games, but we got beat by a run in the first 2 and by 2 in the last one. And I think even though the slow start, they saw the growth. They saw something that they could fight. They could do some things. They just needed an opportunity. And they went to Southeast Missouri State the following right after that trip. And, here's a group that usually during the season you kind of pull back a little bit. They went for like 3 hours of practice down there and just got back at it. And those kids, you could see the improvement right after that series. They didn't do what a lot of kids will do when you're struggling, is you start pouting. I didn't see any pouting out of them. I just saw, let's get back to work. Let's go do what we do best, and that's grind this thing out. And you could see it. And then we switched up the lineup a little bit. He put Seth Gurgley at the leadoff spot. Seth got hot. And then, Urdaneta started hitting in some clutch situations. I still think we haven't played our best baseball yet of the season. We haven't had 5 or 6 guys that have just been red hot at one point in time up and down that lineup. We've had 3, maybe, probably the most, maybe 4, but we haven't had 4, 5, 6 guys just get really hot. But the biggest turning point in me was those guys coming back from Kentucky and Southeast Missouri State. You could see when we got off the bus, hey, we're okay. We're going to be just fine. We just got to keep working. And I've never been around a group of guys that just love to come to the ballpark and play baseball. They are there. They are ready to go at all times, and it's just so much fun to watch. They got that little kid in them. They just love going to the ballpark and playing baseball.
So John Sherman's with us. A couple more things before I let you go.
Yeah.
When I was talking to Mitch earlier this week, he had mentioned teams that are now consistently scoring in double figures. He really watches his signals with his team and, is cognizant of those signals not getting stolen, because he just had mentioned, when you score that much at this level, it kind of makes you wonder if oftentimes this team knows what's coming. How will they handle that? Is that a worry? Because this TCU team has been above double digits more often than not here in the postseason so far.
I think when you have 2 guys in the dugout calling pitches, and they're using the watch to call those, but I think you've got an idea that those 2 guys now, who's actually calling the pitches? Is it Mitch calling the pitches, or is it Justin? Or is Grant taking over and calling some himself? So I think if you're sitting in an opposing dugout and you're looking over trying to figure out which one of those guys is calling, you may say, hey, I think I got it. And maybe the other guys were calling them the whole time. Or maybe Grant calling them. So I think just their communication level between the 3 of them, they've been on pretty good sync over the last 2 months. So I don't think it's a big concern. It's always a concern, but I don't think it's as big as some are making it out to be.
All right, so how many of the fans from Terre Haute made the trek, John? What would you gather?
we've got we're almost at 400 tickets sold for the Indiana State group.
Well done.
So,
shout out to Terre Haute.
Yeah, they have come down, and I think we were talking in the lobby today. I think there's like 9 places in the Wabash Valley having watch parties. So the Terre Haute will be, it's basically take the rest of the day off. They're sitting in front of a TV, having a couple of cold ones and watching the Sycamores play TCU, and hopefully, we come back and we've got a super regional and we're getting ready to go back to Omaha.
Now, is the Ballyhoo a place to be over in Terre Haute? It always is anyway, but it is today?
It always is, my friend. It always is, man. You know that. Get the pizza ready and let's go.
Man. Sounds good, buddy.
You need some Ballyhoo pizza shipped up to you. Is what
there's no doubt. Well, I'm telling you what, it's going to be hard. I want to see these guys make this run because I want to force people here to send me to Omaha. I've got to go out there to do a show or something like that. But, man.
We'd love to have you in Omaha with us.
Oh, Terre Haute. Terre Haute sounds good. Fort Worth sounds even better right now. That's John Sherman, the play-by-play voice of Indiana State. Again, coming up here at 5 o'clock local time, Indiana State and TCU. That's a best of 3. College baseball playoff super regional. And you pay attention to the other scoreboards that are going down over the course?
I was watching Duke, Virginia in my hotel room, but that was the last thing I saw. I know they were in the 9th, and Duke was beating Virginia at Virginia, but that was the last score I even looked at. And I'll do some on the broadcast, but I won't look until we get done this one.
Evidently, Damon Lux, I got it from Don Lux from Shelbyville, Indiana, is the player of the game as Duke beat Virginia with a 2-run home run. So, yeah.
Nice.
That's what Don just sent me right there. And, yeah, you were right about that scoreboard watching with Duke and Virginia from a little bit earlier today with that super regional. All right, John Sherman there, the play-by-play voice. What stations are you guys on? Is it a Dave Crooks station that's over there near Terre Haute?
Yeah, we're on 105.5 The Legend, and then you can also go online at GoSycamores.com and catch the cast that way.
And you tell Dave Crooks when you see him sometime, too, he's got to put the JMV Takeover Saturday night on The Legend or something over there. We got to get a little JMV Takeover going on in Vigo County.
I need that. Just to, by the time you're halfway through your program, I'm in bed already.
See, I know. I try to keep everybody up. I try, but I fail at that. Hey, have a great call. Here's wishing nothing but the best on the call and with this Indiana State team against TCU. It's game 1 coming up here at 5 o'clock local time. John Sherman on the staff, obviously, as an assistant athletic director. He's the play-by-play voice of the Sycamores baseball team. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. John, I know, man, you don't have a lot of time there. Thanks for hopping on here quickly, too, and hopefully we'll have good reason to chat this up coming up next week.
My pleasure. Let's hope we're talking next week going to Omaha.
You got it. Thank you, John.
Thanks, pal. Go Sycamores.
You got it. John Sherman, we're all Sycamores today. Senior Assistant Athletic Director, and he is the play-by-play voice of the Sycamores baseball program. We are all Sycamores. Dave McGinnis gets on here. Remember the former NFL coach? Does the color commentary on the radio for the Tennessee Titans. Once upon a time was an assistant coach. I want to say was an assistant coach for Dennis Rates. Could be wrong about that, but I think I'm accurate. Over at Indiana State. When he comes on here twice a year before the Colts take on the Titans, he always says every man is Sycamore. I just simply say we're all Sycamores today. Let's all get on this bandwagon. Just join me. Very happy. And by the way, too, I mentioned where you can catch John on the radio, which is largely out of this area and certainly over in the Terre Haute region. But this is on ESPNU. Now, I don't know what that means. I got Joe sent me something about having Xfinity. I just know ESPNU on what I have in DirecTV is right there. I'm assuming that we have ESPNU in here as well. But ESPNU. As Sean writes, if ISU goes to Omaha, are you going to take your show on the road? It kind of sounds like something that needs to be done. Again, still a long way away. Those are 2 big wins away. But I can't deny that would be cool as hell. And no doubt about that. Yeah, incredibly happy about it. John Sherman on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pat Sullivan scheduled to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Hashtag Ask Pat. Get those questions in. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about with Pat. And Nathaniel, who was in for James today, will pick a winner. And once again, it's the second consecutive week. The incredibly technologically sound, and they can't keep them on the shelves. Because this time of year, you love smoking meat. You love cooking out. And to make sure you know all about that internal temperature, we are going to give you a chance to win the Meter Plus, or as I call it, the big-time meat thermometer. The Meter Plus. Hashtag Ask Pat. Get those questions in. Pat's going to join us coming up in just a bit. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio in the 4 o'clock hour. Chris Welsh of the Reds Television Network, and Drew Storen, the former Red Legs pitcher. He's going to join us in studio. We're going to talk about his latest brand being unveiled, and we'll talk a little Red Legs, a little MLB with those guys coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. All right, 239-1070 is the number if you want to get with me that way. Inside the lounge via YouTube Live, you can do that as well. I'll open that up coming up in just a second. The stream, the app, HD Radio, and on a glorious Friday, tuned in and cranking. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hank Williams Jr. Are you ready for the contract? Live in concert. It's a family tradition. The Bad Boy. With special guest Old Crow Medicine Show. Alabama women. Saturday, June 17th. Ruoff Music Center. I was born to boogie. All my rowdy friends are coming. On sale now at livenation.com. Part of the Coors Light Concert Series.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing
Talking about a chase and a cop car.
I tell you what, Nathaniel, you just play what you have over there. Don't mess with what I have over here anymore. So I don't know what the hell that is. Pat Sullivan is in studio. I do know what the hell that is. Hashtag
How we doing?
Ask Pat. Good. Don't do that anymore, Nathaniel. Don't do it anymore. All right, hashtag Ask Pat. We're doing another meat thermometer. The meter plus once again today.
Because of Father's Day coming up in just a week, this is the greatest. It really is. It's a Bluetooth, and then it has a wireless backup. So all the first generations of these thermometers, they had a lot of wires, a lot of gear to them. Well, this is just one little single probe. Kind of put it in your pocket protector.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's
one
very
little
hot.
Single probe. Is
Yes,
what you're saying.
It's one single probe, but I mean for the advanced dad, you can get a 4-pack. And then it hooks into your wireless at your home, and then you can monitor all your meats.
Oh, so if you have multi-meats.
Multi-meat. If
so
you're a multi-meat.
You can't just shove it in and pull it out and then shove it in something else and get it?
Well, you could.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
I'm just saying, maybe, you're a family of 4 and everybody wants their steak a little different way. You just monitor that 4 different temps.
All right, so what are we, a couple of weekends away from Father's Day?
I believe it is the 18th.
The 18th.
With Slawfest being on the 17th, so it'll be a great, that right there, take Dad to Slawfest.
Coleslaw still sucks as much as it ever did. I don't know why anybody eats that white, watery looking, drippy. Ugh.
You're part of the problem. You are part of the problem.
So it's like shredded lettuce and carrots?
No, it's not lettuce. It's cabbage.
Cabbage.
So one, you hate farmers. Obviously, you hate farmers.
I love our farmers.
You wouldn't if you were. Mac and cheese doesn't come from a farm. Everybody knows that. It comes from a noodle factory.
Originally,
that's not real cheese.
Farm. Come on,
that's not real cheese.
Powdered stuff, I guess, not real.
No, people. You know what? It's fine. I mean, you're not. I'm not going to change.
Down with slaw.
Yeah,
and
that's okay.
Not even if you get some barbecue next to it.
You either get it or you don't. And slaw enthusiasts will come out by the hundreds on the 18th. They can buy their tickets at SullivanHardware.com. And it actually is really a lot of fun. You would actually enjoy it because even though people just imagine a lot of slaw, which there is, but there's also a lot of grilling going on. There's a lot of pulled pork and wontons and different delicacies that you would like.
You brought in what today?
In brisket.
Love brisket.
Brisket on that is cooked on the Traeger.
Yes.
All of the chicken in our Sully's grill is on the Big Green Egg. So we kind of bounce it around a little bit.
I'm waiting for Scion to bring some stuff over to me. He said last month he's going to bring some stuff.
Mark
and he
is the local Big Green Egg rep. I haven't quite honestly. I'll tell you this: he's a huge race fan, huge Indy 500 fan. So generally he disappears late April, and then he'll show up
reemerges
in June,
around Father's Day weekend.
At some point, At some point he'll make his way out.
I've got to get
probably still at the track.
I've got to get a couple of accessories because we all know with the Big Green Egg, when you buy it, the accessories to replace are absolutely free.
Not the accessory. Yes, that's right. For you.
No, I mean, what do you get to replace inside the egg?
Oh, you're talking about the warranty. Yeah, it's got a lifetime warranty.
Lifetime warranty
which is
on that
the
egg.
Stupidest thing that
you don't
company's
like
ever.
The lifetime warranty?
Why would you do that? We're replacing parts from guys that got it handed down from their father, and he bought it in the 1983. That's not right. Right? How about 15 years?
Love it. Lifetime warranty right there.
And what if you don't like green?
All right, hashtag Ask Pat. Are these callers for hashtag Ask Pat there, Nathaniel? Right there? All right. Check them out and see if they're ready for hashtag Ask Pat. If you have yet to phone 239-1070, you can talk to Pat. You can talk to me. We'll set you up.
Pat can't hear you, but
oh yeah, you can you? You don't have any headphones at all?
Well, I'm not lying. You think I'm joking? Wait, no, I got WIBC. Let me see if I still have them. Yeah, I'm listening to either the Fox feed or to WIBC.
Sitting right there. Well, here, plug. I don't know why that would be. Could you not plug into
either.
This? That's weird. So yeah, you couldn't hear a call if they big. I guess I could just relay the information of the question to you here in studio. Who Who would have known in studio would be more difficult than being on location in week number 1? That's incredible. Got anything? Here comes Todd Meyer to figure things out right here. That better? Look at that.
I got nothing here, John.
Yeah. Still nothing, huh?
Hey.
See, look, Todd Meyer is in her executive producer to help figure things out just in case. Got that ready? Because we got to get calls on here. You always get loaded up with calls at 239-1070. You got me now?
I got nothing, John.
Oh, you got nothing. Oh, boy. I may have to relay it to Pat Sullivan and hashtag Ask Pat coming up here in just a bit. Know how to do that. It's cool.
I got nothing, John.
It's all right. Hey, before I get to the phones here, before I get to a couple of different
You're doing
things,
great.
and certainly Twitter and emails if they want to go that direction. Going into Father's Day, what are some of the hotter things? I know we hit that big green egg and the Traeger. What else are some of the hottest things?
You know what? For Dad, Dad, I will say, is a lot easier than Mom, and because Mother's Day is filled with danger. If it looks like something that's a fine garden tool, that could be insult Mom. But for Dad, you can pretty much the gamut. I mean, if Dad's into like wants a new battery power chainsaw or one of those things,
sure,
that's a great gift. But you never give Mom a chainsaw, right?
I wouldn't think so.
No,
she probably wouldn't dig.
So
that. Yeah.
Dad's a little bit easier. So it really is. But all the whole grilling department is a hot place. All the sauces and the rubs and we carry so much stuff that Dad would like. It's like it's kind of becomes a meeting spot.
That's good.
Todd Meyer's just looking at us like.
No, he's looking at that.
Yeah.
He's getting a little fiery.
I know you guys don't believe me. I was listening to WIBC.
I do. I think I heard it over there as well. I'll tell you what, I will transfer what is said to you, all right?
Okay, great.
Because I want to get J-Law on here at 239-1070. Hashtag Ask Pat, and I will relay the information if Pat cannot hear you. J-Law, what's up?
Hey, JMV and Pat. Hey, I was out looking at this hill where I've got wildflowers and a thistle garden.
Right.
I noticed these white, nice-looking trees. It appears to be poison hemlock. Suggestions on how to get rid of it.
Poison hemlock. Pat, suggestions on how to get rid of that.
I would use, depending on where it is.
Flamethrower?
Flamethrower, I would use brush killer. I would use a brush killer, and I would try to do it when after a rain a little bit because plants tend to die a little better when they're not under stress. So I could tell you another bad thing to mix with the brush killer, but that'd be illegal. Fuel oil.
So not gasoline or anything like that, huh?
Fuel oil.
Oh, really?
No, don't do that.
Don't do that. Did you hear that?
Use the brush killer. Use the brush killer according to instructions.
J-Law, anything else?
I'll see you tomorrow night.
You got it. Tomorrow night on B105.7, Pat Sullivan. It is a Yacht Rock weekend, which means 6 hours of Yacht Rock requests.
6 till midnight?
We're going to be so smooth. And you know what's funny about it? I go smooth and not smooth. But non-smooth does not mean that it's not good. It just doesn't mean that it's Yacht Rock. So, but tomorrow night, 6 until midnight, is going to be a blast. Everybody's going to get smooth and chill out.
It's going to be another beautiful night. We've had such a great run of weather. The only downside is that it is a little bit dry, and people will start, and we fear it as all the garden centers fear the drought like this because a lot of times our customers, we're putting guarantees on trees and shrubs and stuff, and people don't realize that, you have to water it.
Yeah.
Now, it's different from a mature plant that has already expanded its roots and the roots have gone deep and they're pulling for moisture that's down in the ground. When you plant something out of a can, take the plastic pot away, those roots are right there and they're all on the surface. And if it's dry and you're not watering, we're watering nursery stock every day. People will buy it from us and go, what do I need, like every couple of weeks? It's like, no. But then, that's why we fear it because we end up having to pay for it.
Sundown Gardens came out and did did an incredible job. So now I've got to start watering all the time, right?
Yeah, you do.
Stuff to water. I used to not have anything to water. Now I got to water.
Yeah.
But now it looks good.
Yeah,
so
they do a great job. Todd, I got a couple brisket sandwiches for you on the chair out there.
Yes, sir.
For that hard work.
Look at that thumbs up from Todd.
Look at that.
He's not as salty as we thought. Mike is up next. Hashtag Ask Pat at 239-1070. Hello, Mike.
It's actually Macho Mike.
It's Macho Mike.
Macho Mike.
And God bless you both. Remember Teresa, me and Angel. I'll give Angel a hug. I want to give a quick shout-out to the Lady Royals of Roncalli tomorrow, and a quick shout-out to your Sycamores today. God bless them both. Good luck, YMCA. Pat, I've definitely got August 19th, the Egg Fest on my calendar. I'll be there for that.
Macho Mike will be there performing his world-famous YMCA.
And I had a special time this week. I'll make it quick. I helped out with Bible school for 2 churches.
Oh, really? Like like you got kicked out of the first one, they sent you over to the second one?
Tell Denny, everybody hi. Give Terry and the girls a hug. I'll see you on August 19th. JMV, God bless you. And you guys are so special.
Thank you very much, Mike.
I will tell Angel hi because she sends you a hug.
You got it. Thank you, Macho Mike.
We made a bad mistake with Mike one year. We had the band all queued up to do YMCA, and Mike's like all of us, getting up a little bit in years, but man, he can still rock it. And we put him on very soft pea gravel.
Oh,
that was a mistake.
Right, we got a little sliding around.
Macho Mike went down pretty hard, but you know what? He popped right back up. Finished the performance.
That's a professional there. Let me tell you. Emery writes this, hashtag Ask Pat, how long should sod be installed or watered before you mow that?
You know what? I would say that it's it's weird because right now you should be, if you install sod, you should be treating it like a rice paddy. You should be pouring the water on it because that sod. So I would probably wait. I would grab hold of the sod and make sure that it's rooted. And then once it's rooted, let it dry out a little bit and go ahead and mow it. But I would not be in a hurry for that.
Hashtag Ask Pat for Justin. I have poison ivy and oak growing along my fence line in the backyard. It's everywhere, it seems. Is there something I can use to kill it without harming my other plants and flowers? Or should I just burn everything down and start all over again?
The problem with burning it is the oil from the poison ivy can be in the smoke, and you can still get poison ivy.
From the smoke?
Wow. Yeah, so you never, ever want to take...
We all got poison ivy from Canada in this past week.
That's right.
Here, didn't we?
That's right.
Canadian poison ivy.
Yeah, Canucks. So if you take... you want to use brush killer. The problem is brush killer is not a selective weed killer. It is non-selective, meaning that it will damage anything else that you get it on. So the important thing, maybe get a snow shovel, put it between the desirable plant and the poison ivy and spray it. There's no soil activity, so you don't have to worry about it creeping over to your desirable plant. You just can't get it on the tissue of the leaf or the foliage.
Jennifer writes this, if you don't like cooked cabbage, you should try this. Creek fries. They're the bomb. You ever heard of that?
Sounds like something to kale. Is it kale? They mentioned kale?
I would guess. No, I don't know what it looks like. It doesn't,
Creek fries.
It doesn't look like the bomb.
Send you a photo?
Yeah. Looks a little different, I think, right there. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden. When are we going to do the smoke off again with Mike Wells, who's going to join us at the top of the hour?
We are going to. I still got to get. We got to get you some dates. We'll try to do it probably. You like Wednesday, Thursday.
I do.
Yep,
love that.
So we'll probably do that. We're trying to. We're going to throw a invite out to Tony Katz to see if he would like to make this
he's like master smoke guy now.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can make that a three brisket comment. See how I'm avoiding the 3-way?
Yeah,
it's a 3 brisket.
I've done enough with the meat thermometer on this show.
Yeah, I know.
Done enough.
The 3 brisket competition.
That sounds good. And you guys are on the air tomorrow morning, 93.1 WIBC as usual.
9 until 1. The other thing I'd like to do for this, what do you think about instead of getting professional judges, that we just make it a people's choice?
Oh, I think
invite the listeners out, and we give them a little token.
That means nobody would vote for Katz, though.
Well, that's what happens.
No, I think that's excellent right there. Yeah, the people.
The people's choice.
The people can vote on our meat.
Yep,
right there.
That's right.
I think that's good. Well, you come up with something, and that's
you
great.
got it. I'll get the details set up, and then we'll do something and hopefully get some money.
93.1 WIBC tomorrow morning. You, Denny, and the gang. Correct?
Yeah, we'll be out at 49th and Penn talking Father's Day. We'll have some specials. It'll be a lot of fun.
Indy guy says Southern Indiana staple chicken. creek fries and call it a day. Chicken and creek fries.
What is creek fries?
Creek fries are a Southern Indiana staple, best cooked on the grill.
But, I mean, is anybody going to tell us what they are?
I'm looking it up right now. I'm from Southern Indiana. It's the first I've ever heard of it.
Creek fries.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is not.
I've never heard of it. Who's your creek fries? Let's see here. We can make it up that doesn't even really say.
I find this as...
Who's your creek fries says you need 3 pounds of bacon, 10 pounds of potatoes sliced, 3-pound onion sliced, may not need all salt, pepper, take, blah, blah, blah. So that's what you need.
So bacon creek fries. Creek fries.
I guess that's what that is.
You know, that's every time somebody wants to tell me how great kale is, you know, like kale chips or, you know what, the recipe always has about 5 pounds of bacon.
I'm not telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because kale sucks.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. It's just like, I've never had coleslaw. I've never taken a bite of coleslaw. It just looks so unappetizing.
Dude, you've got to come over. The problem is, our country is dying. And part of it is because of your hate of coleslaw. There's nothing more American than coleslaw.
You lift that up and you see all
mac
that
and
white,
cheese
that white
is
water
destroying
in the bottom.
this country. Mac and cheese is brought here like it's something wholesome, and it's really part of the Communist Party. Most mac and cheese originated in a Wuhan lab in China.
Come on, man.
Fact.
Come on. Southern Indiana. In Southern Indiana, it's not creek, it's crick. Crick fries. I had no idea.
Isn't that weird? I've never heard that term, and you had two different people.
Yeah, and listen, I'm like Southern Indiana to the core, and I've never heard of it before. So
crick fries.
I mean, I'm one can tell you what a Davenport is.
Yeah.
So
nothing better than that. Get off the Davenport.
Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Yep, 9 o'clock, 9 till 1. Again, we'll be over at our store at 49th and Penn, and we're going to be, we were scheduled to be there to talk about the Meridian Kessler home tour, and because I'm the genius, turns out that's in October.
Okay, so a little time.
We're going to be doing a little pre-sales by about 4 or 5 months.
It's Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden, hashtag Ask Pat. With our entries today, somebody will win a meter.
It's called a meter, MEATER. It is the best. Matter of fact, somebody invented that thing, and Traeger liked it so much, they bought the company. So that is actually now owned by Traeger. And I tell you what, it really is, because I like a lot of those thermometers and being able to see that internal temperature, but the wires generally have to run under the hood to then to another device, which then goes to your phone. This thing is just the size of a pencil.
Gotcha. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden. Somebody is going to win the meter. Thanks for coming in, as always.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
We shall do that again coming up next week. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, 93 WIBC, 49th and Penn. They'll be staked out there coming up tomorrow morning for the show. Quick break, and we shall return. Mike Wells, ESPN Radio, top of the hour. NBA Finals Game 4 tonight. We'll talk about that. Isaiah Rodgers stuff and more with Mike and Drew Storen and Chris Wells. Some baseball, some Reds baseball, and more in the 5 o'clock hour. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A new career offers new beginnings and unlimited opportunities. Begin your career with Eskenazi Health, ranked as Indiana's top hospital for community benefit by the Lown Institute. At Eskenazi Health, our patients are treated with compassion and skill. That's why Eskenazi Health is looking for professionals who share our mission and have a passion for serving their community. Enjoy excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn more about Eskenazi Health careers at eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
At 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, our comfort specialist can handle any AC repair. Just call 855-1-HOUR or visit onehourair.com.
Always on time, or you don't pay a dime.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in their respective state or county.
The year is almost halfway over. You're still dealing with that nagging knee or hip pain. Well, enough is enough. Pills are not the answer. Surgery is not the answer. You need to call QC Kinetics today. It's Kevin Bowen here for QC Kinetics, and it's an advanced regenerative medicine solutions that can give you a life without chronic joint pain, and you can do all those summer activities you used to enjoy. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in taking health properties from your own body, applying them right into your achy joints so your joint tissue can be repaired and restored naturally. Patients across America are having life-changing results, and there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. Give them a call today for a free consultation. 317-559-PAIN. Locations in Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel. So if you have your pain in your knees, back, shoulder, hips, you need to stop what you're doing. Call QC Kinetics now. And again, get that free consultation and learn.
Construction created road closure backup. And you are not alone if you believe everywhere that you go, you run into something like this. Because everywhere you go, you run into something like this. I mean, it has completely changed the dynamic on the South Side's weird, too, because you get these tractor trailers, these 18-wheelers that, get on these roads that are not at all built and or wide enough to handle them, certainly at that volume. Some dude literally, and this is to all you because people were complaining about this a moment ago, I got run off the road. This is serious. And lucky. I was really lucky. I got run into the orange barrels on southbound 69 right after Southport Road last night by a Bunny Bread tractor trailer. True story. Right in. There was no give. It wasn't going to let me in. Didn't care about letting me in. I don't even know if he knew I was there. He was all talking on his headset and moving his arms. It ran me right into the orange barrels. Felt like Bo and Luke Duke. Yeah, Bunny Bread. I'm never buying a loaf of Bunny Bread again. I'm telling you. But yesterday it was wild because, obviously Meridian's still torn up here just south of downtown. And then there was some fire over there where everybody hangs out on the Bluff Road Beach off the White River. So that road was closed. So I had to go over to Harding and then go down with that mess. So, yes, I do understand what you're talking about, and it is incredibly difficult to get around. And no doubt about that. That's crazy. But wherever you are, more than likely you're dealing with it. And especially if I were you stay off the southbound 6937 stuff. Once people finally get around from north to south on 465, they are so angry, especially truck drivers. They're going to put this thing to the floor, and they don't really care what's going on around them. So use call. You got to be more of a defensive driver than you ever have been right now, because it can be dangerous. And I want everybody out there to be careful, cautious, and safe with this, because that is true. I can laugh about Bunny Bread pushing me off the road, but, I mean, these are some serious situations. So, always be on the lookout for somebody not paying attention, somebody being mad, somebody being in a hurry. And much like we're going to do tomorrow night on B105.7, chill, because we're going to smooth out with 6 hours of all requested yacht rock on the JMV Takeover tomorrow night. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio, his Isaiah Rodgers take. We'll talk about the NBA Finals. Game 4 is tonight right here. The Pacers' upcoming draft less than 2 weeks away. We'll dive into that and more with Mike. Drew Storen, Chris Welsh talks MLB and Reds in the 5 o'clock hour. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Just dumbfounding lack of judgment beyond belief. If you're talking about it.
Isaiah Rodgers, he is the player investigated for gambling by the National Football League.
That's an automatic. 1 year, we'll find out.
This is an ongoing investigation.
We're talking about it.
Rodgers put money, did wager on the NFL.
To be honest, it's just a really unfortunate situation.
This is probably not going to work long term. Your home for Indy Sports. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, John here for the best.
I've got a bonfire at the lake with friends. First, I need a spritz of my off clean feel. My summer style is all about fun and not about... I don't need mosquito bite red clashing with this crochet top. It's purple. It's bright. I could definitely pair it with my amethyst eyeshadow palette.
Let's welcome it back in. The Slow Jam re-entry from somebody that's going to be back in town in the month of August. Mike Wells, Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Leave this up for a second. Mike's got to go into it, Nathaniel. Go ahead, Mike.
I can't hear anything.
No, there it is.
Oh, let it ride. Let it ride. Let's make it last. Let's make it last forever and ever. Don't let our love in.
He's coming back. Our guy's coming back, Mike, in August at the Indiana State Fair. Did you know that?
No. Say that you didn't leave me. Ooh. That's so right. Can you tell me you want me? Say you'll never ever, baby, until the morning light.
That is Mike Wells on the Slow Jam re-entry with Keith Sweat back in town at the Indiana State Fairgrounds in August. We made that concert announcement a little bit earlier this week. I'd do it again. Would you?
Bro,
you go again?
Listen, and we got to have our boy Dion back in. I mean, not Deanna. We got to have, what's our boy's name that was up in there bumping and grinding on every woman up in the
Yes, exactly. That was a hell of a time we had, was it not?
Man, he had his own Soul Train line going up in there. Then he got lost in the toilet with Bumblegut at the end of the night.
Oh, that was a good show. That was a good time. I'll tell you what, there are a lot of good shows going on out there right now. So
yes, and still props to our guy Dion, man. Thank you for everything, great hospitality. So no, listen, I would do any 90s R&B group. Count me in for any other concert.
Yeah, we got LL Cool J, I think, coming up in August at Cambridge Fieldhouse. We got to go down and get to that, too. So,
hey, as long as we can roll in with the Kangos and Adidas sweatsuits, we're in there.
Stir the echoes of when I went to see him do I'm Bad back in 1987 at a Fresh Fest at Market Square Arena. Stir those echoes. Awesome. Just awesome, man. Hey, you have not been with us since the whole Isaiah Rodgers stuff came down earlier in the week. I was curious your thoughts. I started initially by saying, it was coming. I mean, it's coming for a lot of people. And certainly your team, whatever team you follow, is going to end up getting hit by something like this. I think you could just expect it. And that's what happened with the Colts and Isaiah Rodgers earlier this week.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, because I'm not going to lie. I'm hanging out with your girl, Miss Layla. We've been in Scottsdale, Arizona all week, and Bob Money paid a little bit of attention to it. So
are you guys playing ball in Scottsdale, Arizona?
No, listen, I'm hanging out in my Speedos in the pool on vacation.
Oh, you're on vacation in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah. Straight vacation. I'm embarrassing Layla in Speedos at the pool at the house and everything. But
wait, are you guys at a resort? I stayed once upon a time. I stayed in a resort either in Scottsdale or Phoenix. It was all inclusive. It had the most awesome lazy river of all time. I mean, it was great. Yeah. I stayed hammered the entire time. I don't even know if I ever woke up from a stupor. It was awesome. I so needed that, and I need that again.
Yes, hey, listen, we needed this. Nothing on the calendar sport wise. So I got a house this time. Got a house and just relaxing with it right now. So, hey, so did it come out? Was Rodgers betting on the Colts? What has come out of it?
The report was that yes, on the Colts, on the NFL. I mean, basically the triple threat that's what's going to get you, what may even get you kicked out for longer than what Calvin Ridley did is some of that stuff. But my expectation is, along with others, that it's going to be a year-long situation for him that he is going to miss. Thus, he's got a 1-year deal where he was supposed to make over $2 million. And I'm assuming here, when all this becomes concrete, that they're going to punt him. So,
well, I mean, they should. I mean, come on. You're betting on the team you play against. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, and we're still kind of waiting on all that. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that could be really, really ugly.
Put it like this. I mean, first of all,
he's not too bright as it is for betting like this. But come on, common sense would say you're on a team that sucked last year. You're not going to bet in favor of the team you play on because you guys flat out stink. So you're going to play the odds off of it. So listen, for somebody to be that dumb, the Colts better punt him for what he did. And that whole, I did see his social media apology on Instagram and on Twitter off of everything. I mean, yeah, you're apologizing now because you got caught. The reality is you decided to be a knucklehead and do something stupid, embarrass yourself and embarrass your organization and embarrass the NFL.
Yep. I mean, you saw what happened with those in Detroit with a variety of situations, and certainly I put this more in the category of Calvin Ridley, where it's going to be, a year, and with a year not being around here, and that will be it. So to me, the way that you look at it, and there are ways these guys can go someplace else and bet on other things. But I thought EJ Speed handled it about as well as you could when asked about that earlier this week at the OTAs. He said, I don't even want to mess with it. If I were those dudes, yeah. I mean, you got about a 4.5-year window on average to have an NFL career. Have that career, and you can blank around with that betting stuff and all those apps when you're done, because it'll come soon enough.
Exactly. And you know what? I saw the comment, the quote that EJ Speed said during OTAs. Very mature, professional comment by EJ, and honestly, that's what everybody else should be. The rules they should be going by too. I look at it as the rich trying to get richer. That's what Isaiah Rodgers was, or maybe he just was blowing all his money. He needed some extra money and decided to bet. But it is definitely a Calvin Ridley situation. But here's the difference, though, Jay. Calvin Ridley is a very talented wide receiver, which is why he's in Jacksonville now. He got picked back up.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if Isaiah Rodgers gets kicked out of the league for at least a year, will anybody even think about bringing him onto their roster again? Because it's not like we're talking about a lockdown, shutdown corner or an all-pro cornerback. He's just a player, in my opinion, a player that you can replace.
No, there's no doubt about that, too. There is no doubt. Now, we'll see what happens. And, again, what informationally that investigation comes up with in concrete details, I'm sure we'll fashion exactly if it's similar to Calvin Ridley, maybe if it's escalated, if it's even worse or even less than. But yeah, his time here certainly has come and gone with all of this. No question.
Yeah, and you know what? And if I'm Chris Ballard, I'm like, damn, we had a poo-poo team last season.
Yeah.
We had we had to settle for, I'm sorry. I know Jim Irsay said they would have taken the Richardson at number 1 if they had done one over Vic. You got the third best quarterback at best right now behind C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. You only made the playoffs twice since 2014. If I'm Ballard, I'm like, damn. One thing after another with this organization.
Yeah, he's been at the helm of a mess for the most part. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has just been. If I'm like, God, one thing after another. So I can't wait for the league to come out and see what they got to say about this whole situation.
Yeah, I can just imagine. But you're right. I mean, he has been at the helm of a mess. And you look back to last year. You look where they are going into this year now, and then you had this. What's interesting about it is evidently he was being investigated. And he knew about it, and the Colts didn't know about it. So the Colts didn't know about it until basically we all knew about it. So I'm sure that makes everybody feel really good. So I know that there are parameters, I'm sure, surrounding this as well as to why, your representation, if your Isaiah Rodgers tells you, yeah, don't say anything or whatever, this is ongoing and the Colts don't know yet or whatever. But that's how it was explained to me in full detail. And I'm sure that is just another layer in which that the Colts and their brass will feel very unhappy about the entire situation.
Yeah. So here's the question.
Yep.
What do they do a quarterback for next year?
Well, you can't get Stephon Gilmore back now, right? So I mean, you deal him for a 5th-round song right there. I mean, you drafted some dudes, but to me, you look at those veterans that are available, and there's some name-recognizable guys, but the talent certainly does not seem to be there. And most notably, a reason why they are still available is because that talent isn't there. So you're looking at guys like Bradley Roby, guys like Eli Apple, Kyle Fuller. If you were talking about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it might get somebody excited, but here in the now, it probably doesn't. I'm talking about veteran guys. But, yeah, that whole market is not very robust because if you were good, you probably have found a seat someplace right now.
100%. We're in the second week of June, and these guys are on the street still for a reason. And I know they're going to say, some veterans are going to say, I'm just analyzing, waiting closer to training camp. No, if you were talented, they would have swooped you up back in March. You may not have been in the initial wave of free agency, but at least in the second wave of free agency. So I'm not buying the notion of sitting back and waiting. This is not a Dalvin Cook situation where you get released and you know you're still talented and somebody's gonna sign you.
Speaking of that, again, that is all a part of the devalue that the running back position in the NFL is right now. And certainly he's gone through some injury situations and concerns, but he also has been a productive player. Does that translate further down the road to you, in your opinion, to how the Colts will want to handle Jonathan Taylor?
Oh, yeah, I think this is – I mean, we've talked about this in the past, that, the value of what running backs are going to get paid is just not the same. And when you look at a guy like Dalvin Cook, who is still in his 20s, still very young, who has had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and he's on the street right now, he got released. I know Jonathan Taylor and his reps probably don't want to hear this and believe it, but this is a prime example of you can put a guy back there in the backfield and they'll be able to produce for you still. So this definitely lowers the amount, I think, in my opinion, the type of money that Jonathan Taylor's going to get from the Colts.
Well, I mean, you think about it from that standpoint, and then you think about what you end up doing extension-wise. How do you handle Michael Pittman Jr.? Because obviously, Mike, wide receiver is a position now where you're going to get paid more handsomely, and then some have deferred, and then obviously if you're John Robinson in Tennessee, you paid for it later because you traded A.J. Brown in the fashion in which you did not want to pay him. But if you're the Colts, how do you view Michael Pittman Jr. once it's going to be extension time? Do you pay him probably what is over his value compared to production right now, or do you pay him simply because with the way your team is built right now, you can't really afford production-wise to let him leave?
You can't. You're going to have to overpay because you cannot afford to let him leave because what do you? There's nothing behind. There's no set established player behind him. You got Pierce, who's going into a second year. You drafted Josh Downs. He's about to be a rookie. What's the kid Perryman they just signed? I mean, come on, he's just a player. He's never been dominant in the NFL. So Michael Pittman Jr., despite what I believe has just been a good career so far, nothing great, is going to get way more money than what his stats are showing on paper, in my opinion. The Colts know it, and if I'm Pittman's reps, I'm like, yep, they know they need us. They need us, Michael. So we're going to be good and get the money.
I'm telling you, and we're talking about a much better player, a more productive player in A.J. Brown. But that whole situation where how that was handled and then what transpired in the place where he went and then, what were the leftovers in Nashville that got a general manager fired and, got a head coach mad and, kind of started a somewhat slower reboot in Nashville. That's, to me, a great definition of how wide receiver in that position is going to be handled here into the distant future because it is just much more of a value. And here we sit with Jonathan Taylor, when healthy and when having guys around him that perform, is really, really good and somebody you're going to count on. But would you count on paying him a great deal more so than you would a wide receiver? Probably not.
No, listen, everything you just said, and I am in 100% agreement on it. I was looking at the numbers that Richardson had the other day. What was I think, 4 of 7, and didn't really blow the charts away. Are you still under the belief of don't read too much into what we're seeing in OTAs and then, what's going to be minicamp next week?
Yeah, I look more for what happens in training camp and what happens there. But I will tell you, I think that they are – this is their way. It's not like that they're outwardly trying to show us, what we're talking about and what they're doing. This is just their way. But they're not going to be compelled to force him in there, like they have said, if he is not ready. And I've always said this, Mike, and I've said this to you as well. I will be disappointed if he's not ready. I will be disappointed in a lot of things because I still say you want him to be ready. I think he needs to be ready. And I know people say you have all this time and whatever, but I just want to know that he is moving along at a pace in which you can believe this guy is going to be, the guy sooner rather than later. I just want him to be, I want him to be ready. I'm not suggesting they force him in there. And that's certainly the path in which they've taken right now. I will be disappointed if he's not ready, though.
Listen, it's not. You're not going to be the only one disappointed. I think the fan base will be disappointed. I think a lot of people will be disappointed because Gardner Minshew is. Everybody knows what Gardner Minshew is. They know that Minshew is just a valuable backup quarterback. You're not. If you're going to struggle and lose games with Anthony Richardson being thrown in the fire. Let him go through his lumps. Let him learn what it takes to be an NFL quarterback and show flashes. Because the fan base, in my opinion, they're more likely to enjoy watching a Colts team lose with a rookie quarterback who shows that, okay, there is a bright future in Indianapolis over on 56th Street. Everything's going to be fine. If they're going to lose with Gardner Minshew, I think the coach is going to piss off a lot a people. If he's their starting quarterback.
I just look at it this way, and hopefully this makes sense to everybody. I think that they, deep down inside, as much as we do, want to see him good to go in week number 1. But they're saying all the right things about not forcing it. Because of that, because I believe that is what they want if they deem him not ready. All right. That's going to make it even more disappointing because to me that will say how much further away he might be than maybe even what they expected. And then, Mike, I question if you're not ready in week number 1 after training camp and the off-season stuff, then how in the world are you going to get prepared in the weeks leading up with those practices when Gardner Minshew is going at it as the number 1? Hopefully we don't have to go through that. Because those aren't going to be great conversations.
And something else we haven't talked about, not only if he goes to OTAs and minicamp and training camp and not ready, he's got 2 joint practices along with the preseason games to get ready. So there's plenty of opportunities to get a lot of tape and see what Anthony Richardson has. If he's not ready after going through that with joint practices and the preseason games, I think there's going to be there's going to be plenty of reasons to have concern about it.
So Mike Wells of ESPN Radio. No ESPN Radio because he's on vacation right now in Scottsdale, Arizona with the lovely and talented Layla and the family, which is awesome. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we got NBA Finals game number 4, Nuggets and the Heat coming up later on tonight. And Mike, by the way, we're less than 2 weeks away from the Pacers selecting what we presume right now is at least etched, maybe not in stone, but in ink, with number 7 overall. How do you think they're going to handle this draft? And I'll give you a couple of different ways you can take this. One is, will they handle it, draft some guys, maybe trade those picks and try to move up? Or do you think they parlay some of these assets and picks they have together and either play it for further down the road in first-round picks, or do they try to go after somebody that's already been established in the NBA? Those are 3 different scenarios that maybe they would go after. Which one do you think is best benefiting the Pacers in their upward mobility of getting better for this fan base here?
Oh, I am under the belief of let's package those picks. Get a veteran player who is still well into his prime, and when I say that, maybe late 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, and bring him in at the small forward or the power forward spot to team up with Halliburton, your boy Mathurin, your boy Miles, and let's see if it's enough to get over the top and not just get, 8, 9, or what was it, 8, 9, or 10 in the playoffs. Don't be in a play-in situation. Be in one in the spots in the Eastern Conference where you're not doing a play-in. You're locked into the playoff spot, and get a piece like that, because in so many years it's been about getting assets and getting young players and developing them. At some damn time, kind of like with the Colts, you got to stop trying to get young players and think that you're going to be patient to build in, because while you may think you're being patient inside that building, whether it's Pennsylvania Street on the west side of Indianapolis, that patience gets thin. Yeah, you got to start showing it and start winning at some point, and that's what it's going to be at the Patriots, because that appetizer they showed in the first part of the season where they were knocking off teams and people were showing up in the stands, that's what people want to see again. They don't want the second half of the season where you're like, damn, here we go again, all over again. They're not in the mix for a playoff spot, another, draft pick where they're going to be late in the lottery or whatnot. That right there is that scenario has worn thin with a lot of people, and it's time for Kevin Pritchard, Tab Buchanan, Herb Simon. They got to start going out on the limb and say, let's see what we can do to move into the same category. The Knicks, the Cleveland, the Milwaukee's, all those top tier teams in the Eastern Conference.
Well, certainly for me, trading first-round picks for future first-round picks would bum me out, for the sake of, keeping asset flexibility and what have you. That would bum me out. I kind of hope that they believe right now that they're a little bit better than they thought, and there are some things they can swing. It doesn't necessarily have to be OG Anunoby, but some things that they can swing where they feel right now that they are closer to being to what they want to be than they actually thought they were going to be after 1 year of it. And Mike, I think that's what the players want that are here right now, too. I think if you were to ask Tyrese Halliburton, he would say that. Certainly if you ask Miles, he would say that. You ask the core group of players here, I bet you sincerely that's how they want to see this handled. I just, at some point, you got to stop pushing for the longer-term future and start trying to make some things happen with that flexibility you've created in the now, and that's what I hope I see.
Yeah, and where are they at from a salary cap standpoint? Once free agency,
no, they're good. Yeah, they're strong right now with it. So, and we'll see what happens. I think one thing, Mike, to me, that stands out is what they're going to end up doing with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is a guy that certainly everybody likes on the team. He's a high-volume three-point maker, somebody that has to be checked, somebody that has to be guarded. He is an absolute threat, but, is he good with coming off the bench? Is his value at its highest to where they kind of view it right now as a tradable asset to get somebody else to get another pick further down the road because they don't want to re-sign him and pay him? How they handle him this offseason, I think, is at the top of my list. A lot of people would suggest Miles because as far as commodities are concerned with this team, it appears because everybody is talking about him on other teams, what their team would look like with him right now. It appears that his stock has never been higher. So I don't know if we're past the point to where they're not going to take any calls about Miles, but I think Buddy Hield's at the top of that list to see if he ends up someplace else.
In my opinion, Buddy is better as a sixth man on the Pacers team. I mean, he's the modern day Vinnie Johnson, in my opinion. I mean, kids Google Vinnie Microwave Johnson and learn about him from the '80s Detroit Pistons house. I know I've asked you this in the past, but it was during the season, Jay. At what point does his marriage between Miles Turner is Miles here long term for years and years to come?
Do I want him to be? Yes, because I think that they're the best they can be. No. I don't know. To answer your question, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that there is too much all the time now about teams that want him. And the Pacers do have on their mind right now, again, staying flexible, creating future assets. Now, to the present, that would be entirely detrimental to this team because they can't guard you And certainly taking somebody like him off this roster in the now would be detrimental to any level of winning. But as you mentioned, I think you did right. Longer term, I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised if he's here and not someplace else.
Man, that sucks because
it's painful. That's painful to say.
Because then you're going to have to listen to all the a-holes bad-mouthing you, man. Bad-mouthing your boy.
I mean, listen, I won. I have won. This past season gave me a win, and others like me that were in the category of Miles. We won. You know, everybody that said stuff about Miles had to eat it, including the Pacers. Because remember, this time last year, we're less than a month clear for them, signing DeAndre Ayton to an offer sheet. And I don't know why in the world you would look back on that and feel nothing but incredible good fortune that the Suns decided to match it.
Yes. That was a great thing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and clearly DeAndre Ayton is going to be, I know I'm getting off subject, but listening to Frank Vogel's press conference, DeAndre Ayton is going to be, sounds like he's going to be right there in Phoenix because Frank wants a rim protector out there, and Ayton, he probably like, man, Miles and I know each other well, though.
Yeah, I think it was Alex Golden that had mentioned to me yesterday that he still in the back of his mind does not think the interest in DeAndre Ayton from the Pacers is yet over.
Ooh, interesting.
Which would concern me because it should be done. And Frank Vogel said all the right things getting in there, by the way, too. He said, we got to find a way to make him be a huge part. And you do, because financially it's a killer for you, but it is a contract right now that I wouldn't think a lot of people would want unloaded upon them. So you may want to try to find how he fits, with both Booker and Durant and that group in the present, as opposed to trying to find a trade partner that will take on your bag deal.
Yep. Completely in agreement. Hey, we talked about my girl Layla. Yep. How's my girl Laney doing, man?
Oh, she's great. They're going to Lafayette to do something this weekend, I think. Some kind of basketball tomorrow. I got to run up there in the morning.
Yeah. Are you doing the book or are you in the stands yelling?
No, anymore. I think I've done my time on the book and on the scoreboard. So normally right before the start of the game, my strategy is I go to the bathroom or go hide behind a door until they find somebody else out of the crowd, and then I walk back out there and watch the game. I think I've done my time.
That's smart. I think I'm about to retire myself from doing the book, man, because if I'm paying to get in there, I want to watch my kids play. I don't want to be doing the book where I got to be
that's hard.
Man.
Exactly. It is hard to balance both because you also got parents and coaches and people in your ear. And in Lafayette, they don't kind of understand the fun of me screwing with the score and, making fun of that. They take it a little bit too seriously. So that, and I think we're going to go down to Jessie D'Armelio, a friend of ours, is the coach, the women's coach at Franklin. I'm going to let her go down there on Sunday, I think, do some workouts and stuff at Franklin College and hang out a little bit, too. I like Jessie a great deal. So, yeah, busy. And I'm going to go see Casey and the Sunshine Band on Sunday night. How about that?
Hey, brother, you know what? You and I normally are locked step by step in music, but I'm going to let you have Casey and the Sunshine Band by yourself, bro.
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you what. There's a lot of heeing and sheeing created by that. Let me tell you.
Hey, brother, have fun out this weekend, and I'll talk to you next week, brother.
You too. Thank you, Mike. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio is live from Scottsdale, Arizona with us. I've never seen this. Nick sent me a picture during that interview of, what is this? Frisch's Big Boy. Is that hamburger? What do they put on their hamburgers? What do they put on their big boys? I may have to try that. Is it tartar sauce? Is that what that is, Nick? I have never seen that on these shelves. Nick says on these shelves of the Brownsburg Walmart. Evidently $3.93 a jar. I'm going to pay $3.93 for a jar of Frisch's tartar sauce. Isn't that a little bit escalated? Nearly $4 for tartar sauce. How good can that tartar sauce be? Hey, quick one. I'm sorry, I'm way over here. Top of the hour, Drew Storen's going to be in studio. We've got Chris Welsh of the Reds Television Network joining us as well. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 40-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost you about $100 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-239-1749.
I got some Foxworthy tickets I need to give away here. You want to do that, Nathaniel? Get somebody here. Number 9 at 239-1070. Jeff Foxworthy is a part of Laughing Matters. Number 9 is going to go on us. Jeff Foxworthy, I believe that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Laughing Matters, Jeff Foxworthy, number 9 at 239-1070. Yaney writes this. Hey, what gives? I thought that I'd tune in this afternoon and get the equivalent of the Sycamore baseball pregame show. Let's go tour you. Actually, I had John Sherman on at the beginning. Part of the reason why is I had to get him on because they're getting ready to start ISU, TCU, Super Regional. That's officially underway at 5 o'clock. So I had to get him on and get him out so he can do his gig. Super Regionals, Duke upset Virginia. Virginia is the 7 seed, 5-4 earlier today. I mentioned TCU, the 14 seed Indiana State at 5 o'clock. That's on ESPNU. 6 o'clock ESPN2 for South Carolina and Florida. That's a 15 via 2. And Oral Roberts and Oregon at 8 o'clock tonight is on ESPN. So TCU and Indiana State is ESPNU coming straight at you in just a bit. 5 o'clock, in fact. But no, I did handle that. Hey, JMV, as a truck driver, the thing that makes me mad about the new I-69 South is that they did not, or they went over $30 million budget-wise and months over schedule, and they did not put one rest area from Indianapolis to Evansville. Thank goodness for the Huck's Food and Fuel in Washington. Yeah, shout out to Huck's. Well, I mean, you consider you're going through a lot of Greene County right there. You can just pull over the side of the road and take a squirt there, I think, right? I will tell you this. When I go down to my mom's and when I arrive getting off on State Road 45 or when I leave to get back on I-69 off of 45, there's always a couple of tractor trailers sitting there. And I'm assuming there's no heeing and sheeing going on there. There's some sleeping going on, though. No, yeah, there's definitely no rest area. There's not a lot of places to stop, to be quite honest. Lupton Stadium coming up in about 20 minutes. Yeah, it should be really fun. Jamie, Mike asked you about Miles Turner. Why do you think that he is going to be traded? I'm not suggesting in the now, but Mike had asked me if he's going to be a long-term member. I'd be more skeptical about that. It's just kind of what you hear because it's still out there. We're not talking about a long-term deal with Miles either. And then when you look at it, much like we brought up with Buddy Hield, Miles and his level of interest he's getting around the NBA, it's no longer just about the Pelicans or just about the Hornets. Seems like a lot of teams wouldn't mind to see what, a 6'11" guy that plays defense and can shoot the three and really got going with a high-level distributing point guard. Let's face it, that's where everything was created right there. I don't want to see him go, but Mike mentioned longer term. And that would be my thought on it longer term. It would not surprise me in the least. But no, I won. There's no doubt that I won. So that part's good. But longer term, I would not be surprised, not surprised whatsoever, if it decided to go that direction. No doubt right now. You imagine taking that defense away from a team that can't guard anybody right now? You don't even want to try to imagine that. Little baseball coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, too. So Chris Welsh of the Reds Television Network is going to join us. I don't know if Chris is going to be in St. Louis or if he is back in Cincinnati. I think he goes on the road with him, but Chris is going to join us at 5. And Drew Storen, friend of the show. Drew Storen has some product we'll talk about. And Drew Storen is a former Major League pitcher. So we'll talk about that and more in the 5 o'clock hour. Keep you updated on both TCU and ISU and those super regionals that are underway. One already in the books. And at 5 o'clock, here local time, TCU and Indiana State down in Fort Worth. That's about 17 minutes away. All right, 239-1070 is the number if you guys want to jump on board. Again, Game 4 NBA Finals coming up later on tonight. Nuggets and the Heat. The Heat down 2-1, must-win situation without a doubt there. We'll see if the Heat can get up off the mat that was created by a couple of nuggets the other night. Both Murray and Jokic were incredible. Triple-doubles, scored over 30. That's how you do it right there. What Jokic had like 30-plus and 20-plus rebounds in his triple-double, which is just ridiculous. See if the Heat can show what they've shown so far in this postseason, a resilience that has been incredibly fun to watch. 7:30, your coverage begins later on tonight. That is right here. Meantime, 239-1070. We'll take a break, come back with your calls. We got more to give away. 50-cent tickets also before 6 o'clock on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like your neighbor Jerry.
When we first started looking for different options, we went to the internet. Really, we did choose Galaxy, and definitely happy that we did. We first had our front porch and our pool deck done. Decided we loved it so much, we had them out about 10, 11 months later to finish up and do our back porch.
Commercial or residential, 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it comes with a 15-year warranty.
The crews at Galaxy were great. They actually cared about my property, very punctual, knowledgeable, and just a great group of workers.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings works for any area like patios, garage floors, driveways, and around pools.
I'm 100% satisfied. It's not slippery and it's not hot. I was very impressed with the product. It's amazing that I don't burn my feet and my 6-year-old doesn't fall.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com and remember to
Eat and eat it. JMV, dad joke. My daughter asked if she could go to the 50 Cent concert. I said, sure, here's $1. Take your brother, too. Well done. 50 Cent tickets coming straight at you before the end of the show, too. Drew Storen in studio. We will drink of his latest product. Chris Welsh will join us from the Reds Television Network. Haven't talked to Chris in a while. We will talk some De La Cruz. Reds in St. Louis coming up later on tonight, by the way, for a weekend set. I believe the Cubs are out for a weekender in San Fran later on this evening. We'll talk to both Drew Storen in studio and Chris Welsh in the 5 o'clock hour. I'll be ready for that. Meantime, 239-1070. It's Jim McCann in Southern California, I do believe. Hello, Jim.
Hey, John. How you doing today?
When are you going back?
Hey, I'm going back on Tuesday. And
Oh, I hate to hear that. You got to come by and get I got to get your cooler to you.
Well, I'll have J-Lock pick it up. It's actually my son Mike's cooler.
Okay.
When J-Lock grabs his stuff, he'll grab that, I guess. And if not, we'll move forward with life anyway. So we're doing good.
That's good, man. What's up?
I wanted to let you know, one of the best parts of this trip was seeing you on Carb Day and hanging out. That was awesome with those guys. But it was getting to meet a lot of your listeners when I went to like Eddie's. And so I got to meet the people that listen to you, and they're all a bunch of good guys.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to tell Indiana that this just doesn't happen in Southern California. We just don't have a guy on the radio that you can go by, listen to his show, meet a bunch of people that have become friends with him, and then become friends yourself and just have the best time. So when they get those chances to do that, I'm like, hey, people, get out there with John, rub elbows with these people. They're all really cool and make for the best.
No, it is. I am so fortunate to have, folks like you, and every time we go out, get to hang with those people. I mean, the rules. I'm not hanging out. I'll hang out with everybody, but I don't hang out with jackasses. So that's the one thing we've never had an issue with. And you're right. I mean, it's every time we go out, there's always a group of folks that come out and hang, and it's always a good time. And it's something that I think everybody needs a little bit of, and certainly more of, is that type of good time.
Oh, yeah, it's all good. And by the way, I got to meet Jimmy this trip.
Yes.
Which was like, Jimmy! And so that was awesome. And Matt and Ross and C-Fitch, just a bunch of good people. So
Jimmy. Jimmy is just Jimmy and Jimmy's family is spectacular. See, that's the other part of it is I get to know everybody, on a very personal basis, and you become friends. It's a great time. It really is. I am so fortunate to have this job and be able to do that. They're having me out and about and doing things as much as we are. It's incredibly special to me. It is.
It is. Hey, I told him he is like a big-time celebrity, and he told me, no, you are. And I'm like, Jimmy, come on, everybody loves you, and they all don't love you, so we're good.
All right, Yacht Rock, all Yacht Rock for 6 hours tomorrow night. Be ready.
You'll be hearing from me from the Foo Bar Lounge, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We got to have video and pictures, too, of that.
Yeah, somebody will take them. It won't be me. Anyway, John,
Thanks,
I'll
buddy.
miss you, and I'll catch you the next time we're back visiting.
Thank you. Jim McCann right there in Southern California, who is just, if you could not tell from that short conversation, an incredible dude. Incredible. We hung out at Eddie's the Thursday, obviously before Carb Day, and then at Carb Day. A little bit on race day, but he listens. He's in Orange County, California, and he listens to everything. He listens to this. He listens to the JMV Takeover, participates. Just a great dude. Brandon is next at 239-1070. Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, JMV. You mentioned Drew Storen the other while ago, and I was thinking the other day about Mark Patrick, and I think they're related, and I'm wondering, I haven't heard anything about Mark in some time. I don't know how he's doing or anything.
He is. He lives down in the Appalachian Mountains. Has an incredible place. And as talented as he was on radio and television, he may be even more talented, like Bob Vila type of stuff. He creates, and I mean, to a level in which he should have his own television show to do it. But he lives there. I know he spends a great deal of time with his family, with his grandkids, and is incredibly proud. And you're right, Drew Storen is Mark's son and has had a great career and is equally as cool, who's going to be in studio with us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour.
Okay. Thank you very much for the information.
You got it, Brandon. Thank you. Mark was on... when was I off? When was this? Maybe going back to April. I was off for a midweek show, I think, maybe on a Tuesday. And Vince Welch was in here, and Vince brought Mark on. And those two talking about the past compared to the present, just incredible radio. Incredible. With them both. And both being such huge staples in this market for so long, being legendary in this market for so long. I've really done squat. Like I enjoy what I have done and I want to continue to do it, but compared to those dudes, not close. But he was on with Vince and it was incredible radio. In fact, I believe if you missed it and you're kind of inspired to want to hear it, I think it's on a podcast at 1075thefan.com, maybe back in April, Vince Welch and Mark Patrick, which was an outstanding conversation. Drew Storen's going to be in studio, the former major leaguer. He's got product. We'll talk about that. And Chris Welsh of the Reds Television Network will talk De La Cruz, the upstart Reds, what there is to be excited about. And, of course, they're taking on in a weekend set the Cardinals in St. Louis. That, and about 3 minutes away from the start between Indiana State and TCU. Super regional time in Fort Worth. We're rocking ESPNU, and we'll keep you updated at least for the hour in which we're on. Quick break, and we'll come back on a gorgeous Friday. It is. We've vaulted into the 5 o'clock.
Fan.
Now, Indiana State, TCU about set to get underway. We'll keep you updated. Got tickets to give away this hour. You guys sit tight. In studio, before we get to our guest on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, well, look at this. Look who is in studio. And our guest that is awaiting me bringing him in on the air will know this person as well. Former Major Leaguer Drew Storen is in the house right now. What's going on, buddy? Better hit his mic over there. There we go.
Am I on?
There, you're on now, man.
Look at that. Great to be here. Thanks for having me,
Awesome.
JB.
Well, we're going to talk in just a minute about your product.
Oh, yeah.
Field of Dreams in the house.
I'll get it all set up while we talk some baseball.
You got it. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, because we'll get him on. Reds with a weekend set in St. Louis from the television network with the Reds. Our friend Chris Welsh joins us. You recognize that voice that's in studio with me, Chris?
I sure do. Every time they made a call out to the bullpen to bring in Drew Storen, I mean, it was pretty much lockdown, game over. And it's great to hear his voice. Drew, I hope you're doing great.
I'm doing great, Chris. Great to hear from you. Everything good in your world?
Everything is good. You know, things are up. Looking up around here with the Reds, we've got a whole covey of young players that have come up and really taken over and ignited the fan base, too. And that's probably the biggest thing that's going on in Cincinnati.
It seems a lot of fun to watch. I've always told people that having guys come up and make a name for themselves, especially in a passionate fan base like that, makes a world of difference, obviously in the short term, but really in the long term, that's when you see it pay dividends to, some of those epic playoff runs.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think that, for the last few years, the Reds have been just trying to, tread water. They thought they had a chance during the COVID-shortened year, 2020, and they put a team together that had some flaws and really, wasn't going to go very far in the playoffs. But this is legit this year. They've got some players that are really good. They've picked high in the draft. They've done well. And everything is kind of on the upswing right now for a nice surprising change.
Chris Welsh, when I turn on my microphone here, he can hear me via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And Drew brought up this, and I call it upstart, and you're right. There is a level of excitement with this young group that we haven't seen in a while. And a huge part of that was De La Cruz when he was brought up and made his debut earlier in the week. And I was talking about thinking of the older days, to where somebody was that hyped and there was that much excitement about a Reds player, in this case, a rookie player making a debut. Eric Davis to me was a big deal, but I was a lot younger back then. What came to mind for you in comparison to De La Cruz and that debut earlier this week?
Well, that's a really good question, because I've been doing this for 31 years now, and I can't remember a player that has come with the credentials that Ellie De La Cruz has. I mean, they brought Jay Bruce up. He was a little bit younger at age 21 and fewer days than De La Cruz is, but and then he was, he went off immediately when he got to the major leagues, had a tremendous first couple of months. But De La Cruz is a guy that has done statistically and analytically way more than anybody else. I mean, he hit the ball so hard last year. There's only two players in baseball that hit a harder hit, and that was Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, and then Ellie De La Cruz. This year, he's got the fastest time in Major League Baseball already, from home to third when he hit a triple the other day. He's been timed at 99 miles with his throw across the infield. So, he's got all the tools, and the city is just going bonkers with excitement.
Is that something where this is the tipping point to really catapult it into probably the days of the past of rebuild? Do you think those are beyond, and it's kind of a whole new ball game, and De La Cruz is ready to handle all that?
Yeah, you know what it makes it kind of funny, Drew, is that there's no rule out there that says you have to lose while you're rebuilding. Yet a lot of front offices feel like you do. They look at that Houston Astros game plan where they lost more than 100 games, like 4 years in a row, and then they think, oh, man, this is something that is really going to bother the Reds here for the next few years until they get everybody together. But in the meantime, they're winning some ball games, and I think it's really exciting and fun. And hopefully they'll be able to continue to do that.
Yeah, that's why I asked that, because it reminds me a lot of the Nationals in 2012. We were a young team that kind of came together, but there were some strategic veterans that were put in the clubhouse, and all of a sudden it felt like we were playing with house money because we didn't have the expectations. And that's when you're able to play free and easy with guys that are young, that's pretty special. That's where I see obviously De La Cruz as being somebody that moves the needle like a Harper.
Exactly right. And he could be the next Bryce Harper. I mean, he could be the next Ken Griffey Jr. for all we know. We really don't know for sure, but the physical tools are there. Everybody who's been around him in the minor leagues tell me what a great person he is. And I think the Reds have done a pretty good job in bringing good characters into the clubhouse, which is always really important. But the thing that I see different this year with the Reds is that they're actually playing for a team goal. You've been on ball clubs, Drew, that there's a lot of guys that are kind of playing for their own contracts. Maybe they're arbitration eligible. Maybe it's a walk year. They realize the team is probably not going to the playoffs, and they just have a little different attitude. This team is all playing because they really believe that they can win every night, even though they're really outgunned with a lot of high payroll teams. They are really showing people that if you hustle, play the game right way, and get decent pitching, you can put some W's on the board.
It's Chris Welsh. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, getting ready for the Reds and the Cardinals. Drew Storen, the former Major Leaguer and the former Redleg, is in studio with us. Chris, you brought up a great point, and you brought it up a number of times on the broadcast. One of the reasons I really like this group right now is because they grind. And I don't know if that's just kind of learning how to play and maybe, not understanding the situation yet enough to really be frightened of it, scared of it, uneasy about it. But this team in late game situations, as young as they are, oftentimes they have been outstanding, at least the 9 that are out there for sure.
Yeah, I'm not really sure whether it's the Reds and the offense that's getting hot late in the game or whether it's a lack of really good relief pitching around the league, especially in the division. Because you look at the rest of the Central Division of the National League, they're terrible. I mean, my old broadcast partner, George Grand, used to have a great saying. He says, you don't pick the year in which you're going to win. The year sometimes picks you. And I think that's a pretty good lesson because, the Reds are 5 games out right now. They're still about 4 games under 500. They're 3 games ahead of the Cardinals, which is really unusual. But it's a situation where they believe in themselves, and I think if they get a little bit of momentum going at the end of the game, they feel like, hey, we can put that runner at home and make a difference here. So a lot of things have gotten out of hand when they took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, for instance, earlier this week. No one expected that to happen, and but it really gave them a lot of confidence.
What are the general vibes with the Reds bullpen where they're at right now, Chris?
Well, they've got a lockdown closer. Alexis Diaz is the guy at the very end of the game. I think including last year, I think converted something like 19 in a row or in that neighborhood. But he's excellent. He's able to come in consecutive days. The setup guys are doing pretty well also. The one thing that I worry about with that bullpen is that they've only got one left-hander, and his name is Alex Young, and I'm not so sure that you're going to be able to get by in a world in which now a lot of teams have loaded up with left-handed bats because of the lack of the shift ability. It's tough. You don't know when you're going to use that lefty, but the bullpen's been good enough. I think the weakness in this ball club right now is one that they didn't think would happen, which is in the starting rotation. They've had some injuries. The only guys that have really done well from the very get-go, you can say, is Hunter Green. And he's had his ups and downs, but still he's been a guy that the Reds can depend on. And, if you don't have good starting pitching, you're going to blow your bullpen out by mid-August.
Yeah, for sure. What's your general vibe with Hunter? Obviously, I've seen him throw, and I would dream of that kind of Nintendo stuff. What do you think the difference is? Is it the cat and mouse of scouting reports catching up to him, and maybe him adjusting his strengths? Is it just part of the growing pains of being a dominant starter with Nintendo Velo?
We're talking about Hunter Green still?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, here's a guy, and you threw hard through as well, but maybe not as hard as Hunter Green.
Definitely not that.
Everywhere he's gone, every time he gets into trouble, all he has to do is rear back and throw harder.
Mm-hmm.
That works at every level until you get to the big leagues. And at that point, you have to combine the speed and the location with something. And I think he's finally learning that. I mean, I think in his first start last year against the Atlanta Braves, he threw a fastball 101, and Matt Olson hit it about 9 million miles. And said, well, that's enough if you are not able to throw that ball where you want to. So he's beginning to feel like he can back off a little bit and hit the spots and repeat his delivery. He's got a beautiful delivery.
Oh, man,
and I
yes.
think that's been a big thing for him.
I love watching him throw. I was talking to Clippard the other day about him, and his easy 100 is something of beauty.
It's incredible. I mean, I can't remember seeing a guy who, with that easy a delivery, the ball came out of his hand like that. I mean, he's a specimen. He's a big guy, about 6'5". He's built perfectly. He's been well coached his whole life, and it's a matter of really being able to repeat your breaking ball and maybe get the hitters off the plate a little bit.
It's Chris Welsh with us from the Reds Television Network. Drew Storen's in studio as well, the former Major Leaguer. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, are you at all surprised? And again, they're not over 500 right now, but at least to me, and maybe it's the novice eye that I bring to the table here, surprised about how well that many of these position players are playing so far and the level in which we have seen them night in and night out. Are you surprised by it?
No, I'm not really. I know that the guys they got in the minor leagues, the two call-ups that they had with his Matt McClain, we haven't talked about him at all, and Ellie De La Cruz, they're game changers. These guys, they could get on any major league team right now, and you'd have to start them somewhere. They're that good. And it's been a while since the Reds have had that kind of talent in the farm system. But I think that what the other part of that, and I've already kind of mentioned it, is that the rest of the league is kind of coming back a little bit, down to normalcy. I mean, you've got teams like the Mets who can't seem to get out of their own way. You've got teams like the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Reds are in St. Louis this week, next 3 days, that have a reputation for being a great organization and making good decisions, and all of a sudden they've got finger-pointing going on around here, and they spend money on some payroll that they are not getting anything out of. So I think that this is all a combination. It's never one or two things, but it's a combination of everything. But the talent with the Reds is real, and I think that they believe in themselves, and sometimes you can beat the other team just by overachieving.
Outside of De La Cruz, you mentioned McClain as well. Who's really impressed you, and maybe kind of a bit of an off-the-radar guy that's also impressed you so far this season with this young Reds team?
It's hard to be off the radar nowadays because there's so much publication for, kids that are coming up. But, the kid to keep an eye on is Andrew Abbott, left-handed pitcher. He's pitched one game so far. It was 6 innings of shutout baseball that he pitched against the Milwaukee Brewers. And he hides the ball well. He throws in the mid-90s. He's got a nice changeup and a really good little breaking ball, too. And I don't know if I can say this on it, he's a badass. I mean, he stands out there, and you can just tell this guy doesn't want to take anything from anybody. And I love the attitude, and you need that. And I don't think he's impressed by the names on the back of the uniforms. And he's the next guy I think that you really ought to pay attention to when he gets the ball.
You mentioned starting pitching too, being something maybe you thought was going to be better this year. Do you see any turning of the table with that in mind, or might it still scuffle along to a degree in which we've seen so far, Chris?
It's so hard because there's so many injuries in pitching nowadays. It seems like the harder the guys throw, the fewer innings that they throw, and the more they get hurt. So you don't have the guys that, can give you 7 or 8 or 9 innings anymore. I mean, if the starting pitcher goes 5 or 6 innings, the manager's jumping for joy. So I think that really the way you build your team is if you can have a couple of studs at the top of the rotation, great, but you've got to have bullpen arms, and you have to have a lot of bullpen arms to come in and continue to, replenish, because guys are going to wear out and you need somebody to take their place. But, I don't see the pitching changing very much, and hopefully the guys will get healthy and stay healthy. But, it's hard to do nowadays with these guys pushing the limit the way they do.
Chris, do you see a byproduct of starters, especially younger starters, not going deep into games, being more of a talent or polish issue, or is that more of maybe some of the arm preservation that happens in the minor leagues with, guys aren't racking up as many innings as they used to?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they're definitely trying to take care of the pitchers. But the funny thing is, I don't know where they've come up with the 100-pitch mark as the line of demarcation. I mean, no one's ever been able to show that if you limit a player's innings and limit his number of innings, pitches in an inning, for instance, that he's going to end up being healthy. I don't see that as direct correlation. I see the fact that everybody's trying to throw as hard as they possibly can, and you're just blowing out the human body. So I don't think that in the minor leagues they're still using analytics more than ever before, and It's like, hey, the first thing you hear about a pitcher nowadays is, oh, he throws 97. Well, everybody throws 97 now. What I want to know is, can he throw it where he wants to, and can he stay healthy? Because those last two things are the very important things that you can get hitters out by spotting it up.
Yeah, I remember, Chris, every time we would, see a guy come in, make his debut out of the bullpen, and he's 98 and punches the side or something great, and I would always turn to Clipper and say, all right, we'll see him in 2 weeks and see where he's at. So that's part of it. But I was just curious because, obviously in the minor leagues from the innings workload standpoint, the shorter, kind of the HOV lane to the big leagues now is great in keeping guys healthy. But when you get to the big leagues, as you know, you're redlining and beyond, and you're expected to now extend well beyond kind of what you were, pitching in fifth or sixth gear at, and trying to, make a team with the major league level, I imagine is probably where, the wheels start to wobble a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great point, Drew. And I think the other thing is that you have to learn how to pitch and play when you're nicked up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, you need to know the difference between being sore and actually being hurt. But there are a lot of guys now that if they don't feel 100%, they're not going out there. And it didn't used to be like that. I think that sometimes you just sucked it up and went after it. And, but nowadays you just don't do that. There's so many medical personnel following each team around and so many tests that they can give and MRIs and so on that if you're a little nicked up at all, you're going to get some rest.
It's Chris Welsh with us, so Drew Storen as well. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Regs and Cardinals start a weekend set later on today. You'd mentioned the Cardinals, currently the cellar dwellers in the Central. How surprising is that with that group that has been put together? And you can mention the Cubs, who are 7.5 games back as well, and maybe the surprise, certainly of the NL, has been the 32-29 Pirates, maybe to this point, maybe even the Diamondbacks. But what surprises you about the Central overall?
Well, the Cardinals not being able to get out of their own way is the biggest thing. I mean, they signed Wilson Contreras, the catcher, to a very big long-term contract, and all of a sudden, the pitching staff revolts and they say, well, we don't want to pitch to this guy. And then when they're like, well, wait a minute, we can't say that because this guy is not a left fielder. We've already got a crowded outfield. Where are we going to play him? So they make him a catcher again. And it was almost like the front office was beginning to find a scapegoat, to point fingers as to, well, you told me to sign him. No, you told me not, So it's a tough situation here. Basically, I think with the Cardinals, if you want to wrap it up, they've got an older starting rotation that they're just not getting enough out of right now. They're not missing bats enough, and they're not putting their team in position to win. So because of that, it opens up the entire rest of the league because the Cardinals used to beat up on everybody in the division. So you've got the Pittsburgh Pirates who look a lot like, roll the clock back 2011 when they had a really good team back then. They had days of Andy Van Slyke. But it's a situation that I think that when the rest of the league comes back to you, it provides an opportunity that you don't have every year.
Chris, what do you think the chances are that the Cardinals do their bit where they get hot in the second half and ride the momentum of the wild card into a playoff run?
I think that could happen. It definitely could. I mean, they've got good personnel. You look at their lineup, and anytime you got a lineup that has Arenado and Goldschmidt in it, and they've got a couple of young players, Nolan Gorman is a guy to watch. Jordan Walker's back in right field now, playing every day, and and Contreras can hit. So they've got a good lineup, but they've got to make sure that their starting pitching stays healthy. One thing that they can do here in St. Louis that a lot of other teams, including Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, cannot do is go out at the trade deadline and actually sign some players that, they may rent a pitcher, and it could be a high-priced guy, could be Justin Bieber, could be, name a number of different guys who've been floated around there. But I think that the Cardinals could do that. I'm not so sure the Reds and the Pirates would go all in at the deadline.
Chris, before I let you go, we started out talking about this young team in Cincinnati. When's the last time the fan base felt as excited about where this thing is going in Cincinnati about their baseball team?
Oh, probably, I don't know, when Jay Bruce hit that walk-off home run against the Astros to get them into the playoffs. I mean, it's been a while. And that's a sad thing, too, because the fan base has been told, hey, we're going to be competitive every year, and the fact is that they're not competitive. And they've made, some bad decisions, coupled with the fact that they didn't spend a lot of money, coupled with the fact that they had a few guys that they did sign end up being injured, and they maybe were bad signs. So, if you really look at it hard, the Reds, if you take Joey Votto's salary away, and they're still paying Mike Moustakas from last year, this is a payroll of about $50 million, which would be one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball, because of who they're actually running out there on the field. So that's the other thing I think that fans get really excited about. They just love to see young players who they say they're playing it for the love of the game, even though there's still a lot of money to be made as a young player. That gets the fan base going. And when you have somebody like De La Cruz, who is basically a freak, it's fun. I mean, the fans loved it when the Reds had Aroldis Chapman. They loved it when he was a freak. Billy Hamilton was a freak. They loved it when they had him. And now they got De La Cruz, which is kind of in the same category.
Yeah, De La Cruz just looks like that 5% at the top different. He just looks different than anybody else.
He does.
It's Chris Welsh right there, the Reds Television Network, with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Have a great time in St. Louis. It was fantastic to have you back on, and we'll make it out to Great American at some point and see this squad front and center, Chris. But it's great to hear from you again.
Well, JMV, thank you for having me on. Hopefully it won't be as long again. And good luck to the Sycamores. And, Drew, great talking with you.
Chris, great to chat with you. Take care. Hopefully we'll cross paths soon.
Okay, guys.
It's Chris Welsh right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Speaking of the Sycamores, I think both teams now have a couple of knocks. No score as TCU bats in the top half of the second inning. How many times Super Regionals did you play in?
One.
Part of?
Just one.
How was that?
Oh, it was amazing. I would say that Super Regionals experience and the College World Series is as close to the big leagues as you can get, because you are playing on ESPN and you are getting texts from your friends and family at home going, I'm watching tonight.
Right.
You don't necessarily get that in AAA.
So did you play at home for Stanford when you guys were in the Super Regional?
We went to Fullerton. So that was awesome. I got put in my first game there. That's when I had to really figure out the mental mindset of closing, because I got put in with the tying run on second base in the ninth inning to close the first game. So it was awesome.
TCU just had a runner thrown out at the plate and then one almost thrown out at third on a double right there. Wow, that was some interesting base running, right? That's some aggressive base running right there. Got one out to right that goes to the fence, and after a relay, runner thrown out, had a runner on first, runner thrown out at the plate, and then a runner almost thrown out at third, advancing right there. So you can see the replay on that. Nice relay that guy was meat for about 90 feet right there. So
yeah, that feels good as a pitcher right there.
Yeah, I bet it does too, because that's a huge deal. There's no doubt about that. Now you got two outs, top of the second inning, runner on third, and concentrate on this batter.
Yeah, that's big to have a play like that. Deflate their rally right there, let them kind of shoot themselves in the foot.
Who was on Fullerton's team whenever you were playing them?
Man, I wouldn't say any big names that really made. I mean, some guys that made it to the big leagues, but nobody crazy. But they were just grindy. It was fun.
Just a machine, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, that program just spits guys out.
I mean, so did Stanford, don't get me wrong, but...
we had a really good team. The guys that were juniors my year, Jason Castro, so I think we ended up having 4 or 5 major leaguers on our team.
Who else was on that team?
Cord Phelps made it, Eric Davis, pitcher. You had a couple guys that just... But Jason Castro definitely had the biggest career of anybody.
It's Drew Storen, who was in studio, the former major leaguer. Let's talk about your product coming up on the other side. Let's take a break. Field of Dreams for a reason right here. We'll tell you all about that, the product and more, which has been unleashed to the public. It's Drew Storen in studio on a Friday. Thank you very much for joining us. Chris Welsh a little bit earlier. Mike Wells was here. Pat Sullivan in studio. And John Sherman's calling this game in Fort Worth right now in this Super Regional as Indiana State squeaks out of the top of the second inning with no runs given up. That is a big deal. Quick break and welcome.
A Fan.
Hey, Nathaniel. We call you Nate. He's running things today for James. James has got to get 3 more tattoos to make 10. Watching Indiana State and TCU. TCU had a legit scoring opportunity in the top of the second inning. Had a runner score, runner trying to score, thrown out at home. Indiana State survived that. And right now, Indiana State's got a runner on first, 1 out as they bat in the bottom of the second inning. Game number 1 of the Super Regional down in what is a completely sweaty Fort Worth, Texas. 2 outs now, as it appears, in the bottom half of the second inning. Drew Storen is in studio with us. I want to get to this as well. If you're watching via YouTube Live, hopefully you still are right here, you can check out Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams has been a project for Drew, the former major leaguer, of course, from Brownsburg right here. Has been a project for how long?
2 years.
2 years in the making right here. So is this the fruits of the labor?
This is.
Right here?
That is it. That is all of a long journey and a lot of ups and downs, but we got it on a shelf.
So tell me this. The best part about this story is how this is all created. It's called Field of Dreams for a reason. Explain to the folks out there how this came to be.
Yeah. So I was a product design major in college, so I've always had a design
well, your dad's
angle.
Ridiculous at that stuff, by the way.
So I've always,
absolutely ridiculous.
I've always had a passion for, selling stories and all that, but I collected a bunch of bourbon when I played, going back to Prohibition era, and about 7 years ago had the idea to take the corn from the Field of Dreams movie site and put it into a mash bill, and 7 years of kind of talking about it with guys, and we had to run baseball numbers parallel to whiskey numbers to help tell the story and of the most famous corn in the world.
That's incredible. Now, is it rather expensive to pull the corn out of the Field of Dreams to do this?
It's expensive to ship it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No.
So it's, a lot of diesel, but, it's not a cheap process to get started in this. But
now, where does all the creation happen?
So we ship it to Minnesota and Michigan and different places to have them put down barrels. The goal is to put a distillery out at the movie site. But in the meantime...
Oh, really now?
Oh, yeah. That's my land on the moon. I would love to...
So have you had conversations with the people there?
Yeah, I mean, we not necessarily on the movie site, but around it.
Right.
But yeah, that's the end goal. I would love to do that. But at first, it's a matter of getting barrels down and getting the story out and seeing what we're dealing with. This started as a passion project where my buddy Tyler Clippard called me. And
former major leaguer.
Yeah, and so he just retired last year, but I told him I was done playing, and he told me I needed to do the whiskey idea if I was going to be done and that he would invest. And so he retired last year. So this is our fun thing, and we're bringing in other bullpen mates, and we're the children of the corn, and we're here to tell we're here to tell the story of
Malachi,
the most underappreciated asset that I think I've come across in a long time. The corn is being taken into town and sold like any other corn. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, you do it a completely different way. Now, where did it strike you the idea to get the Field of Dreams corn as, the main line of your product production here?
Just looked at kind of the trends. Jefferson Ocean was always a go-to to me when somebody would ask for like a gift bottle for dad, right? And there's just something in the process there that makes it unique to the story. And then, now fast forward to like Horse Soldier and all that, you look at what they're doing, and that's unbelievable. And using the World Trade Center story and their Delta Force guys, it's perfect. For me, it was finding a certain kind of corn. And I was thinking heirloom initially.
Right.
And I don't know enough about corn, but then, you think location. And it's like, well, it's all about a good story, and you think of the nostalgia and all the good feels that's associated with that movie. It just lined up because it needed to be baseball, where that's the best storyteller that I can tell inside and out. So it was just it was a long shot. I didn't know if we would be able to pull it off, but we did.
Did they think that you were a little crazy the first time you called them and said, I want to utilize the corn here and put it in my brand of product called Field of Dreams? Did they think you were a little bit crazy?
No, I think they were really excited. Luckily enough, Andy Ray, one of the brothers that's in charge of farming it, he's only a couple years older than me, so he's become a good friend of mine, and it was kind of like about time somebody, the right person came too, because they're also very protective about that place.
Yeah, I bet.
And, I explained everything that I wanted to do with it. And, I said that I have years of ideas. This is just executing now once I know, you green light this, I'll take care of the rest.
Of course, Field of Dreams from 1989 is the Kevin Costner film that baseball folks and non-baseball folks alike absolutely love. Now, you mentioned this, and I'm holding up this bottle right here of Field of Dreams for those that are watching via YouTube Live right now inside the lounge. You mentioned this during the break that I don't normally give people a dirty bottle. Explain that to me once again as to why, because I think it's cool, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we only have so many extra bottles of this. So these bottles tend to wear a lot of hats. So I was out at the movie site with Tyler Clippard the other day taking some content photos, and so I was putting that in some of the Field of Dreams corn and also on the movie site. So it had some dirt on it, and I figured, I don't normally give people dirty bottles, but that's some pretty cool dirt to have.
That is nice right there. That is cool as hell. Wow. Now, what was the second place idea that you had? Did you have a second place idea? Because you said you came up with theories, ideas. What was second place to the Field of Dreams? I'm curious.
Those are, if we pull this off, we're going to work on executing those.
Are you really?
Yes.
So you're still going to keep that a secret, right? Makes sense.
NDAs don't work on the radio. So
how long have you been out of the game?
2 years. So I came back. I was in big league camp with the Phillies in 20. They sent us home, and then when the rosters unfroze, they released the older guys, and that's when I kind of had the look in the mirror. I'm like, do I love it enough? And I was really kicking around this idea because I was at home training by myself, and I go, I think I can do it. And I was like, I caught myself thinking more about this and having kind of more of my maverick mentality towards this idea, and I finally was like, you know what, it's not worth me living out of a suitcase and being away from my boys. If I can do this from here, I'm going to do it.
How old are the kids now?
I have a 6-month-old girl and then a 3-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy.
Look at that. Man, does the big chair take care of everything still?
Oh yeah.
My goodness. He and Vince, I mentioned this before you came on. He and Vince Welch was in for me back in April, and he had Mark on, and it was some of the best radio absolutely ever.
I listened to that. That was awesome.
I mean, just great days right there.
It was great for me. I always love hearing Dad talk about that stuff, because that's my childhood, and I was so fortunate to be at his side for a lot of those. So, it's neat for me to kind of go back and be able to hear those stories. It's awesome.
How old were you when you first understood what your dad meant? Yeah, to radio, television, to basically everything around here. How old were you?
I don't know that I really fully understood it. I mean, for me, I enjoyed every second of it, but I didn't get it until when I was older. It was probably like 14, 15.
So Reggie Miller just shows up at your birthday party because that's what happens.
Yeah, that was really neat. Like, thanks, Dad. Like, not just how unreal that possibility
What birthday was that when Reggie Miller showed up?
I think it was my 8-year-old birthday
That's
party.
pretty awesome right there.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking PK day too. So and then Fred Hoiberg too. I loved it. Great shot. But yeah, I mean, just looking back and being able to go down and say that, like, I used to play horse with Reggie at Market Square Arena before games, and I lost every time.
Yeah,
but that's the stuff that I would tell guys, they're like, no way. I'm like, no, you just don't get it, man. It's Indiana.
And to a much lesser degree, I can remember being with Blake, and I think Blake was maybe 7 or 8. And the Manning return game, when he was with the Broncos, the first time he came back here on a Sunday night, I was down on the field with Blake, and Blake was throwing the ball around with Darius Butler in pregame warmups, and I thought, dude, this is something you were always going to remember because this is such a big deal. And there's some things that when you do stuff like this, sometimes you fall into it a little bit and get to have some fun with it. And you, much like my kid probably didn't recognize it at the time, but you certainly do now.
Oh, I mean, it's unbelievable because obviously Dad will always be a hero to me, and so I always thought it was cool no matter what he did. But as I've gotten older, and especially now, I love it when people are like, oh, if I'm still his son, that's really cool to hear that. Because you hear that impact and you're like, oh, I don't, because I knew how much it meant to me.
There's no doubt.
And and I would say too, I think one of the most, the coolest thing that has come out of doing this project that I would have probably never had the opportunity to do, I got to play catch with them at the movie site. So
you did, yeah.
So I mean,
now was that your first time there when you did that?
No, I went out initially when I first started this and got like 1 load of corn, and then but I took Dad at the game last year. So being able to do that and obviously play catch with my own son and take them out there, but to do that's something that going into this I didn't see that happening, but that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I believe Indiana State just gave up a home run to TCU. That is indeed correct. The bad timing, too. They just gave up a home run whenever Mitch Hannes, their head coach, was doing an interview on ESPNU right there. Dugout interview.
Every time.
Is that what happens when dugout interviews go on? Bad stuff happens?
The baseball gods are undefeated.
That's incredible.
They're always going to handcuff you. If you do something out of the norm, there's going to be a reaction in the baseball world.
Do the managers hate that? Hate doing the dugout interviews?
Yeah, there are some guys that enjoy it, but I remember that first Field of Dreams game when they interviewed Liam Hendricks in the bullpen. I told my wife, he's going to blow the save. Because because I know I was saying it's undefeated how things happen.
It is odd how in baseball it always happens that way. Mm-hmm. You miss it?
Yes and no. I miss is the opportunity to bring my boys around it, because now my 6-year-old, I coach his t-ball team, but he's you bring up getting it. He's to the point where he now gets it what I did.
Yeah.
And so to be able, for Tuck to be able to share that with his kids is really cool. And I know that's something that I'm missing out on, but the beauty of what I'm doing now, I can be around the game, and I'm also there to coach him now, because in reality, I'd be, like I said, out of a suitcase. Who knows where I'd be?
Do you think you could still be going right now if you wanted to be going right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, I have to say that because that's part of what you do, right?
Sure.
I know I could, but I know it also would take a long time.
Yeah, and it becomes tougher and tougher, I would imagine, right?
Oh,
year after year, the way things evolve. Do you like the new rules? Do you like the new clocks and all that?
Yeah. At first I was against it, but seeing
I was too.
Yeah.
I felt the same way.
And I think as a pitcher, I would have been really against it, but in the end, it would have made me better, because the more I was hit firing and kind of just living in the moment and kind of grooving instead of trying to turn it into a chess match, the better off I was.
No, the more you were really thinking about it?
Yeah, I always...
Because some would suggest the more you think about it, the less productive you're going to be.
Oh, that's 100% what I would do. Yeah, because I used to work quick, but then part of the art was late in the game is deflating some of the momentum.
Yeah.
So that's also a bear trap where you do overthink it. Me, of all people, I tend to overthink it a lot. So I think in the end, if I would have just had a clock knowing I got to go anyways, it doesn't matter. Just throw the pitch.
Yeah. And I always think about this. You see if you can rehash, maybe not all the story, but a little bit of the story. Tipping pitches was a conversation last week, and I brought you up because you and your dad, Mark Patrick, again, used to watch every single game, and he watched once and found out that you were tipping your pitches, and your own team and your coaches didn't notice it, but he did. How'd that go?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to just you have to check your own video sometimes, because they're scouting usually the closers, and if there's one little thing off, they're going to get it, because if they can at least eliminate one pitch from you, and it was extremely difficult for me to do it because I was so inside that I could go frame by frame and I would never see it, and it's a really difficult thing. So for me, it was all about eliminating the options of things, any quirkiness I could have. So I tried to be very repeatable and rigid, but there's just something you do when you throw a pitch. If you watch somebody long enough, you can get them. And some of these guys are incredibly good at it. There are some guys that can get somebody within 3 seconds.
Yeah. The tipping the pitches thing has become so prevalent today. That story always rings true. And I always bring that up whenever somebody brings that up. Drew Storen is in studio. Field of Dreams is his product right here. Now, where can we get this?
So we hit stores Wednesday at one location at West Clay, and we sold out within 10 hours.
Nice.
And when I was downstairs on Nigel, we hit the Brownsburg Big Red with 12 cases, and there was at least 7 gone already.
Nice.
So
that is well done.
But I'm supposed to be there tomorrow to sign bottles. 3 to 6.
Tell everybody about that too.
So I'm going to be there tomorrow at the Brownsburg Northfield location where those bottles were delivered. So I'll be there signing bottles one way or the other. And if you bought some today, I'll sign them there.
You got something for me right here. You want to do this coming up on the other side?
Absolutely.
See, the hillbilly in me, which is ample, would try to go ahead and shoot this, but you want me to sip this. So I'll sip this on the other side. And I also never forget how ironic it is that you are the big-time bourbon and whiskey guy, and your dad has never taken a drink in his life.
Yep.
Ever. Not once. Now, when you first mentioned this project to him, what was the big chair's response?
I didn't really ever bring it up to him. He kind of found out about it through my mom, and so he asked me about it. I was like, "Well, Dad, I just didn't know how much of interest it would be for you." But I'm. For me, the biggest compliment I can get from somebody is saying they're not a drinker and they want a bottle just to look at it, because my best bottles in my collection, I will never drink, and that's art to me.
That's it. That's what you're looking for, is the bottle?
This is art.
Like how important is the bottle compared to everything else?
To me, it's all part of the package. The juice matters the most, but the packaging matters. And the story all matters. Like for me, I picked that bottle shape because if you look at the sides of it, the medal of the Cy Young Award is the same shape.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
And so we're all about adding depth. So there's only 22,860 bottles that are in this release. It's going to be in at least 3 states. So it's 1/4 of what a Pappy Van Winkle run is. And it's one bottle for every guy that's ever made it to the major leagues.
Oh, the Pappy right there. The Pappy run. Were you a big Pappy guy?
I still am. Trust me, if you could collect it, I bought it. So this is where I collected so much I had to find another thing.
I did a couple live shows at Big Red Liquors a couple of times for Pappy releases, and I thought people were going to fight. Seriously, I thought people were going to fight.
This is part. I loved the hunt. I embraced the hunt, and I loved every second. And I love showing people my collection and telling them the stories behind it.
Field of Dreams, and the creator is Drew Storn. Again, you can see that here. We'll close out this hour with Drew coming up on the other side. And what are we going to do? We're going to sip this a little bit? Or we're going
to sip it neat, and then we're going to butter the corn with a little water to see how it opens up.
I dig it. I do. I dig it. We'll do that coming up on the other side. Sycamore's down 1-0, top of the 3rd inning against TCU. That's a best-of-3 super regional in Fort Worth, Texas. We shall give you an update on the other side, and more still to come on a Friday. Drew Storn in studio with his Field of Dreams. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Golfers, you're invited to take the short trip to experience Antler Point Golf Course in Rushville. Antler Point just underwent renovations in the last year and is ready for you to experience this year. Weekday specials, senior specials, and affordable weekends. 18 or 9 holes. Antler Point is less than an hour from Indy. You want to play more golf in 2023? Make the short trip and give Antler Point Golf Course in Rushville a swing. You'll be glad you came. AntlerPointGolf.com. That's point with an E.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Nothing in me
here on The Fan. Hey, by the way, too, I'm going to have some extra time, which means some anything goes after 6. So you guys be ready for that. And I've got right now Late July out of Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center. I forgot to play it back in. 50 Cent and Busta Rhymes together in celebration. 50 Cent, Busta Rhymes, number 9, 239-1070. Number 9 will win tickets to that game. Again, 239-1070. Busta, I should say game, concert, Busta Rhymes and 50 Cent coming straight at you. Late July, Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center. And number 9 is going to win those tickets. I mentioned game because I'm also watching Indiana State now down 3-0 in the bottom of the third inning to TCU with 2 outs batting in the bottom of the third. TCU with a solo jack and a 2-run shot in the top half of that third inning to stake a claim to a 3-0 lead. Drew Storen is in studio. Field of Dreams is his product. All right, what are we going to do with this right here? Tell me a little bit about it.
We're gonna have the classy, neat drink. So the goal of this, it's our first release, so it's a lower proof because I want max approachability. That way, if you're a bourbon guy, you can drink it neat and it plays with the big boys. But then if you're just getting into bourbon, it's approachable. If you're a baseball fan and just want to take a drink of the most famous corn in the world, it plays. But we'll try it neat, and then we're gonna butter the corn with a little bit of water because I'm all about this being a 2-sided bourbon.
That's how you butter the corn with some water. Huh?
Yeah, or if you're nice, I love my ice ball press. So if you want to do that too, it plays that way. So,
all right. So let's cheers. Cheers to you, and congratulations on Field of Dreams. Okay. That's very smooth. That's got a lot of nice touch in it.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
So we tried to go with a weeded mash. So, but to showcase the corn, there's no barley in there.
Right.
So, and then there's a little bit of rye spice. So
nothing shakes you down whatsoever.
Yeah,
that's nice and smooth.
It's not something where you're gonna. You don't necessarily need to hurry up and cough it out. I wanted something smooth and approachable. We have plenty of time now to do some higher proof ones.
Sure.
Again, going off the baseball numbers, we're gonna come out with 108 proof for the Cubs at some point.
Nice. That's nice.
That's part of it. We have plenty of time to add fuel to it.
Your brain is just cranking as we sit here and speak.
And that's why, like I said, we started with this one where we had one bottle for every guy to ever make it to Major League Baseball because it's kind of a unique fact that
beautiful.
Not a lot of people know that there's only been so few to do it.
All right, let's butter the corn here.
Yeah, let's butter it up.
All right, so how much, the whole thing in there?
Yeah. It's just a couple. Essentially, comes out to a couple drops. You're good.
Okay.
Yep. I should have dosed you out properly.
I should have. See, I just didn't want to grab this like the hillbilly that I am and go, oh yeah. And just
but you know
back.
what? Hey, in the end, bourbon's all about how you want to drink it.
Yes.
You buy the bottle. You do whatever you want.
There it is, Field of Dreams, which you're going to be signing some bottles.
So Brownsburg Big Red there on Northfield Drive got the delivery actually about an hour ago, and there was 120 bottles, and I believe it's down to 50 already. So
you better haul ass over there.
Yeah, I'm going to be there tomorrow 3 to 6 to sign bottles. So if you bought them today and there's none to buy tomorrow, I'll sign them. But hopefully we can get some more. But there's only so many left. Like I told you off air, there's a majority of this is going to go to Iowa, but I wanted to make sure that people in my backyard were able to get some great bourbon.
Little brown. So is that Northfield Drive?
Yep, right there by the Starbucks and Old Brickers.
Oh, yeah, right there. So, yeah, exactly. That is in Brownsburg, 3 until 6 tomorrow. You're going to be signing the bottles.
Yep.
But there may be some over there right now.
Yeah, there's only 5 cases left. I didn't know if they would. I thought they would be there tomorrow, but luckily we have people that want to buy it. So there's only a few left, and I'll work on trying to get that reloaded for the event. If not, I'm happy to sign bottles or whatever tomorrow. Just hang out and talk bourbon.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. This is
fantastic.
Fantastic work out of you. And stay after that. And stay after your dreams as a T-ball head coach.
That's right. That's right.
Is your team the best in T-ball right now?
Yeah, I hope so. We have Tucker Barnhart's kid on the team as well. So,
is he swing it?
Yeah, he's an unbelievable player all around. So, and he leads the league in swag. He's got the shin guard. He has a chain. He's got the big show glasses. So he gets it.
Is he going to get a big forearm tattoo by the time he's 9?
Yeah, I think he was at least waiting until true sanction literally started.
He got the swag going. Oh, man, that is awesome. All right, well, stay in touch with us, okay? Yeah. And, whenever you need, let us know.
You're great. Yeah, if you get to Brownsburg and it's not there, we've got our great canned cocktail, the Southpaw. So
I already dismissed this one can.
You gave me the best review the first 5 minutes I was in here.
It's already gone?
Yeah, this is the big crush factor. This is, again, we're trying to serve towards something that's a masculine high noon that you can crush on a hot day. And, we're all right-handed pitchers, so if we were left-handed, we'd still be playing, and we just want to be able to give a tap on the left arm to order one.
I have known you forever, and I am so proud of all you've accomplished, and give my best to the fam. Tell Mark I said hello as well. When he was on this show, as I mentioned earlier, with Vince Welch a couple of months ago, he was as incredible as usual, but it's always great to hear. And have we heard anything from DB lately? Our friend Don Baker? Is Don...
I haven't
talked to Don in a while either.
Yeah, no, I need to get on.
I haven't talked to Don since the night after the night.
Yeah, I haven't checked in. I need to get a renewal on some of the Kenny Tarmac liners for some of these business calls I'm doing. I'll sneak some of those in for my own entertainment sometimes. Just play right into it. I love it.
D Baker may be on the down low a little bit.
That's right. There might have been a change.
I called him. I said, "Hey, so wait a minute. Am I going to see something that I've never seen before if I go out and watch you do stand up here? What the hell happened?" So
that's right.
So DB, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Drew Stored in studio. Field of Dreams is what it is. One more. Look, I am becoming incredibly cultured. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, JMV. This is
Drew
a blast.
3 until 6 tomorrow, Northfield Drive location of Big Red Liquors. Drew will be there to sign bottles.
Yes.
Thanks, brother.
All right, thank you.
Quick break and we'll come back. A little anything goes for about 20 minutes. Go ahead and load them up. You know what we do. We talk about whatever you want to. 239-1070. We got 20 minutes until the Gorman and Matt Taylor start the last word. Let's do some calls at 239-1070. That is coming up next. It's anything goes. 239-1070. The Gorman and Casey Valier will join you coming up on the last word. I've got a little bit of extra time, and I think we should handle that with conversation between you and I. It's called Anything Goes. We put you on hold, and then we go at it. So there are a number of things to talk about, make no mistake, but we can do whatever. It's called Anything Goes. We've got that time at 239-1070 for you right now. And a shout out to Drew Storn, who was in studio. And again, tomorrow, he's signing bottles over in Brownsburg at the Northfield Drive location of Big Red Liquors. That's coming up tomorrow from 3 until 6. But, a little Field of Dreams conversation and really some great baseball conversation that we had with both Drew and Chris. See you later, Drew. Take it easy, buddy. Good to see you. Between he and Chris Welsh of the Reds Television Network a little bit earlier, too. Outstanding. If you missed any of it, the podcast is at 1075thefan.com. I mean, just a great time. Now, my Sycamores, not so great. What is it, 3-zip right now, I think? What are they batting on the bottom of the fourth inning? No doubt. TCU, as we had talked about, they were swinging hot bats. They were hot offensively, and they are continuing that, to say the least. Right now, 3-0 over the Sycamores as Indiana State bats. I believe that is in the bottom of the fourth inning. Now, for those of you that haven't watched very much, and I probably haven't watched even that much more than you have to this point, the Sycamores are a very good team late, but they've got some work to do right now. And again, a 2-run home run and then a solo home run has accounted for all the runs scored so far for TCU. That is game one of the best of 3, no doubt. Litzy writes this: Brent Halverson's pre-wedding refreshments courtesy of Heaven Hill Distillery and JMV approved. That is outstanding right there, everybody. Thank you very much, Litz. Appreciate that. JMV, I heard you talk a little bit earlier about a variety of things, including that of where you think the Pacers are going to go. I know you've been strong on Miles Turner throughout. Why do you think he's not going to be on the team long term? Because I just kind of wonder where all this is going to go, because he's at right now, and then I'm thinking going into this year as well, is going to be at his highest value. And that comes with not really knowing where the Pacers are going to go. Give you a great example. So we had Alex on yesterday setting the pace, and Alex Golden kind of talked about what he had hoped to see, and that is an uptick in play, but also staying true to what they started out doing. Like, whereas I sit here right now, and I wouldn't mind them. I wouldn't mind them to kind of go at it as if they believe they have found a little bit something, right? And to go after a guy that's already established and not continue to go with, obviously, their 7th pick if they stay right there or don't move up. But they have these myriad of other first-rounders. To me, I would rather see some sort of parlay into something that you can do with it, with a player that's already established, than I would seeing them trade those off as a part of other deals to help continue that level of leverage you have later on. What I mean by that is, trading a pick and then getting a first-rounder in 2027 in return, first-rounder in 2026 in return. Like to Alex Golden yesterday, that's kind of what he had hoped they follow that path. To me, I want to see it get expedited a little bit more than what it is right now. Now, that depends on whether or not you believe in what you saw. This was a non-playoff worthy team this year. But this was also a team that you saw play well, especially in the month of December. A team that you saw play well basically until Tyrese Halliburton went down with an injury, and then everything fell apart. I would rather see them do that and play for the now and the future than just simply play for the future. That has been my thought all along. And when you're thinking about the longer-term future, guys like Miles and Buddy Hield, are brought up for a reason. It's because right now you're probably looking at a couple of guys where their highest level of interest and market value would be found. And it would be found right here. Now, do I think Miles is going to be dealt this offseason? I don't. Now, do I think the Pacers would still have interest in DeAndre Ayton? No, I don't. Here's why. Because that is a bad contract. It appears to be a bad contract, and it also is going to appear that Phoenix is trying to just pawn that one off on somebody else, even if Frank Vogel is saying all the right things. We got to get this guy in, got to make him part of the team, got to get him involved. Seems like you're saying all the right things about it, but it also, to me, seems like that they're probably going to try to get rid of this because they view that as a mistake. I don't happen to think the Pacers still have that interest that they had when they signed him to an offer sheet. I think what they saw this year, especially with that combination of Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner, is just drastically different to them than what they felt was Miles Turner prior to. You saw a different level. Sycamores go down in the bottom of the fourth inning. They are struggling at the dish right now. 3-0 TCU as they head into the top of the fifth inning. Super Regional game number 1 from TCU. And the Sycamores have yet to put anything on the board. We'll see what happens. But now to answer your question, not this year for Miles. I just think that you have another year like this past year, like somebody inside the lounge via YouTube Live was talking about, well, Miles is not consistent in scoring and rebounding, but he is a consistent shot blocker. This year, he was consistent across the board. This year, he did what everybody had talked about they always wanted to see him do. He was consistent across the board, and with a short extension like he has right now, there's an opportunity where the value of Miles is even greater because of the way he played and because his contract is friendly. I don't think it's going to happen right now. I don't think they can afford to have it happen right now, especially defensively. But at the same time, maybe after next year, we'll see again a lot of how they go about this particular offseason. The draft coming up in less than 2 weeks, and then, coming up in July in this offseason, a lot of the way that they play that will dictate to us exactly how this is going to go down, or exactly in the spot in which, we believe they're going to go. Not quite sure just yet, but I would have to think that I think a lot of teams want Miles. I think that he is of high value. I just don't think he's going to go anywhere this season. But longer term, as was asked by Mike Wells of me a little bit earlier, that is the part that I would definitely struggle with. Make no mistake about that. At JMV 1070 via Twitter. JMV, I heard you talking with Chris Welsh and Drew Storen about the Reds a little bit earlier. How much do you believe in what they have right now is young and is good and can build into what really their front office and organization had been promising the fans of Cincinnati for a long period of time? I think that they have a chance right here. I think that they have a solid chance right here. They have a great deal of young talent, and you can start in a number of places here. Ellie De La Cruz, he just came in with all these incredible, as Chris Welsh mentioned a little bit earlier, these skills that are freakish. But at the same time, you look at guys like Spencer Steer. You look at guys like Kevin Newman even. I mentioned Stuart Fairchild on the show a number of times. Matt McClain was somebody that was brought up. They have a lot of everyday guys that seem to fit the bill for the long-term future. I don't mind that at all. I'm not supposed to celebrate a team being under 500 as any sort of an accomplishment, but I have not been excited to go home and watch a Reds game on TV with this group as I am right now. I've not been this excited in forever. And that's the way that it has been. Forever. I think what they're doing right now, is something that they have been promising for a while that can finally come to fruition, to answer your question. Especially the everyday group. And that's something we are talking about with both Chris and Drew about their starting pitching has been few and far between. But the everyday players bring a level of excitement and belief for the future for the first time with this Reds organization. You haven't had it in a long while if you're a Reds fan and if you're believing in it. And no question about that. Have not had that in a while. And this is the interesting question right here as far as tonight's game is concerned. How good do you think Jokic is compared to some of those great players of the past, whether you're talking about Larry Bird or Magic Johnson? I think right now, and he doesn't look like it, right? I mean, you kind of look at it and you go, wait a minute, state of the art. But his game is state of the art. He does a little bit of everything that is absolutely necessary. And he does it at a high-level click. Now, you'll watch later on tonight. Think about that triple-double he had in game number 3 where he goes for over 30 and over 20 rebounds. He is just a guy that doesn't get pushed into a hurry, and seemingly every decision he makes is a great decision. And to me, I'm not suggesting he is Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or anybody of the past, but you can take bits and pieces of his game and equate that to those greats. His sense of timing and the fact that he never gets pushed or sped up. He goes at the speed for him that is necessary. And I mean, I'm telling you what, he is surgical in the way that he picks you apart. The guy can score. Sometimes it's in an awkward fashion, but it doesn't matter as long as it goes in. So I think you could take bits and pieces regarding Nikola Jokic, and you can take bits and pieces of guys of the past and make that all sound true. He just does stuff that others, I mean across the board, that others simply cannot do. But at times, at being 7 feet tall, he doesn't look the part, but he is the part. And you saw that the other night with that triple-double and that win over the Heat. Game 4 is coming up right here, coming up later on tonight. That is a 7:30 start. The Nuggets and the Heat, again, 2-1. The Nuggets right now in that best-of-7 NBA Finals. We'll see if the Heat can get back up. And for the Heat, they have been so fun to watch. Not a fan of them, but fun to watch considering what they cobble together and the output that they get out of what they put together. But this is a problematic situation for them. You lose tonight and this series is over. You lose tonight and the series is over. Even with Miami playing, in do or die situations or on the road in situations where, they surprised and won. You lose tonight and this whole thing is over. Miami has been one of the more resilient teams that we have seen. And I think this has been, and I mentioned this earlier in the week to Ian Eagle, this has been a better product out of Miami for the entirety and the interest of the NBA than even the Big Three were. And the Big Three won titles. But this group, with all the undrafted free agents, which at times jumping on the shoulders of Jimmy Butler, at times maybe riding alongside Bam. Now, this group makes it interesting. It's not the same old. This thing, again, I called it being cobbled together. That's the way that it has. I think that you got with those Big Three, with LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, what you expected. With this group, you don't. And oftentimes, it's just a different dude altogether. Maybe it's a Duncan Robinson late in the game. Maybe it's Bam. Maybe it's Jimmy Butler. Maybe it's Gabe Vincent. Seemingly everybody on that team, remember, Remember looking back at every, Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference semifinals, it seems to have been somebody different every single time, which to me, that's amazing, especially for a group like this. You have one legitimate star, and Bam is close, but you have one legitimate star, especially in the postseason. That's exactly what Jimmy Butler is. But that is a team that plays well together. That is a team that is well coached. And I put more value on that now than the value that you got even with the exploits of the big three, because you knew what you felt was going to happen. You had expectations of what was going to happen. With this group, it's kind of like an, oh, wow. These guys are doing that. Getting how much out of Gabe Vincent there in the third quarter? I've been incredibly impressive to this point. Again, Game 4 of the NBA Finals, that is the Nuggets and the Heat coming at you. Tonight at 7:30. We'll see if the Heat can get even before they go back to Denver for a game number 5. Continuing to follow the Sycamores and TCU. Last check, 3-0 TCU. I can't tell if the Sycamores are batting in the bottom of the 5th inning. Looks like they are right now in some sort of challenge. But, offensively speaking, it has not been a banner afternoon so far in Fort Worth, Texas for the Sycamore offense. Yeah, looking for a little bit more. And they don't have it right now. Again, best of 3 in these super regionals. I believe 1 of 4 that would be going on earlier today. Duke over Virginia. And you got Florida, South Carolina coming up later on this evening. And another surprise in this, too, would be Oral Roberts. And really the second half of the season, they have had Oral Roberts and Oregon. That's an ESPN game coming up later on tonight as well. So there's a ton that is going on. And this reminder to Drew Storn, who was in studio with us a little bit earlier, you can find him tomorrow 3 until 6. That is the Big Red Liquors location over in Brownsburg. You're going to be signing bottles, Field of Dreams. It is awesome to see the dream of his come to fruition. Corn out of the Field of Dreams to manufacture this. And Drew was in here, talked baseball, and talked a lot about this product that he has put together as well. Chris Welsh a little bit earlier about the surprising Reds, and a division that may be more surprising because of the shortcomings so far of the Cardinals in last place, of the Cubs next to last place, of the Pirates in second place. Maybe it's more about that than it is anything else. But the Reds are right there, too. We were talking about all-time horrible seasons. Remember, to start the Major League Baseball season, we were talking about all-time horrible seasons. And in fact, they are putting together, so far, one of the more interesting / entertaining that Reds fans have seen in a long time and have been waiting for, and have been promised and not delivered. So that's the team. We thought this team would challenge as an all-time worst. And in fact, this team is hanging in there right now. And maybe it's more because of the NL Central and, again, those shortcomings that I talked about with the Cardinals. Lack of pitching, a little discord going on in St. Louis. Cubs not playing up to what people thought, and the Pirates surprising. I think 3 games over 500 at last check for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So we got that for you as well. Chris Welsh a little bit earlier from the Reds Television Network, and Drew Storn talk baseball in the entirety of that 5 o'clock hour. Mike Wells of ESPN Radio. We talked about Isaiah Rodgers maybe hearing something coming up over the weekend. I'm not quite sure. I think we all know ultimately what is going to be the outcome. Well, maybe you hear something new, something different over the course of the weekend. Of course, that is something that we will follow to the fullest. Pat Sullivan, Sullivan Hardware and Garden. That's hashtag Ask Pat. I got this right in front of me if you guys are still watching here via YouTube Live. This is the Meter Plus, or the meat thermometer that I talk about right here. Outstanding. And John Sherman, who's calling this game right now. Hopefully we can get a little rally going on, Sycamore fans. Hey, tomorrow night, 6 until midnight, B105.7. I want to hear you all with me. Tomorrow night is going to be 6 hours of Yacht Rock. It is a Yacht Rock weekend on B105.7, and I'm going to take your request. 6 hours of Yacht Rock coming up tomorrow night, 6 until midnight on B105.7. Nathaniel, fantastic job for the Getting Tatted Up once again, James Adams, this afternoon. All of our guests, thank you inside the lounge via YouTube Live, and your listeners, you know I love you. Thank you very much every day, 3 until 6, for paying attention. Gorman and Valier next, the last word. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Have a great weekend.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit